Hello guys, welcome to Scion What Ifs. So in this video, we will see what if Goku became the solar god and fell in love with the moon princess. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, Solar Awakening. Goku wiped sweat from his forehead as he crouched behind a massive boulder, catching his breath. The thing he'd been fighting for the past hour wasn't like any enemy he'd faced before. It wasn't a person or even a creature in the normal sense, more like a living mass of swirling energy that drained everything it touched. Man, this thing is stubborn, he muttered, peeking around the rock. The cosmic parasite, that's what Bulma had called it when her instruments detected it crashing to Earth yesterday, hovered about 50 feet above a barren valley, pulsating with stolen energy. Already the surrounding forest had withered, trees turning gray and lifeless as it sucked the life force from everything nearby. His GI was torn in several places, and his muscles ached from the exertion. The parasite didn't fight conventionally, it absorbed his ki attacks, growing stronger with each blast. Physical attacks weren't much better, touching it felt like sticking his hand into an electrical socket. Gotta find a weakness, Goku said to himself, his brain cycling through options. Can't blast it, can't punch it. His thoughts were interrupted by the crackle of his communicator. Goku. Bulma's voice came through, staticky but urgent. Are you okay? Our readings are going crazy. Yeah, I'm fine, he replied, wincing as he rotated a sore shoulder. But this thing's tough. Nothing's working on it. Listen carefully, Bulma said, her voice tense. We've figured out what it is. It's some kind of cosmic energy parasite. It came from deep space, probably been traveling for centuries. It feeds on energy, any kind, but what it really wants is solar energy. Goku frowned. Solar energy? Like, from the sun? Exactly. That's why it's hovering so high up, it's trying to position itself to absorb solar radiation directly. And according to our calculations, oh no. What? What is it? There's a solar flare heading toward Earth right now, a massive one. If that parasite absorbs it, it'll become powerful enough to drain the entire planet. We're talking extinction-level event. Goku's expression hardened as he stood up. Not gonna happen. How long do we have? Minutes at most. The flare's already approaching Earth's atmosphere. Goku stepped out from behind the boulder, eyes locked on the pulsating entity. Then I better finish this now. He placed 2 fingers to his forehead, concentrating on the parasite's energy signature, and instantly teleported directly above it. The creature sensed him immediately, tendrils of crackling energy lashing out. Goku dodged most, but one caught his ankle, sending painful jolts through his body. Af, he cried out, pulling free and putting some distance between them. The thing was getting stronger, absorbing ambient energy from the atmosphere now. The sky above began to take on a strange reddish glow. Goku glanced up and saw the atmosphere rippling, the telltale sign of massive energy entering from space. The solar flare, he realized. It's starting. The parasite seemed to sense it too, its form expanding upward like a hungry mouth opening to the sky. The air around them grew hot, unnaturally so, as the creature began drawing the solar energy downward toward itself. Goku felt the hairs on his arms stand up. If Bulma was right, he had seconds to act before this thing became unstoppable. But what could he do? Energy attacks just made it stronger, and physical attacks were nearly impossible. A crazy idea struck him. If it wants to eat energy so badly. Goku flew straight up, positioning himself between the incoming solar flare and the parasite. He spread his arms wide and began to power up, his aura blazing around him like golden. Fire. Kaioken times 20. His power exploded outward as the crimson energy of the Kaioken technique enveloped his body. The parasite immediately sensed the surge and turned its attention toward him, reaching hungrily with tendrils of dark energy. That's right, Goku gritted through clenched teeth. Come get me instead. The creature took the bait, surging upward toward him just as the first waves of the solar flare began to penetrate the atmosphere. Goku could feel the incredible heat bearing down, unlike anything he'd experienced before. The parasite stretched itself thin trying to reach both Goku and the incoming solar energy. That was his chance. Now, he shouted, suddenly dropping his Kaioken aura and gathering his hands at his side. Me. The creature, momentarily confused by the disappearance of his energy, hesitated. Me. A sphere of brilliant blue energy formed between his palms, growing rapidly as he poured his ki into it. The parasite, sensing the new power source, redirected toward him again. Hiya! The Kamehameha wave blasted forth, but not at the creature. Goku aimed it straight up, directly into the incoming solar flare. His intention wasn't to destroy the flare, it was to disrupt its path, to scatter its energy so the parasite couldn't absorb it all at once. For a moment, it seemed to work. The concentrated beam punched into the atmospheric disturbance, causing the incoming solar energy to disperse in multiple directions. The parasite writhed in apparent confusion, stretching itself thin trying to capture the scattered energy. But Goku had miscalculated. As his Kamehameha connected with the solar flare, something unexpected happened. Instead of merely dispersing, the solar energy seemed to resonate with his ki, creating a feedback loop that sent massive surges back down his energy beam. He didn't have time to finish the thought as solar energy crashed down his Kamehameha wave and slammed into his body. The pain was immediate and overwhelming, like being thrown into the heart of a star. Every cell in his body felt like it was burning from the inside out. The parasite, sensing the massive energy transfer, lunged toward Goku. But it was too late. The solar energy wasn't dispersing anymore, it was funneling directly into Goku himself, using his Kamehameha as a conduit. Aawa! Goku screamed as the power surged through him. His vision went white, then red, then filled with colors he'd never seen before. His body felt like it was being torn apart and reconstructed simultaneously. The parasite reached him just as the final wave of solar energy poured into his body. It wrapped its tendrils around him, trying to drain the massive power he now contained. But something had changed. As the creature touched him, instead of draining his energy, it began to wither. Goku, barely conscious and acting on pure instinct, grabbed one of the tendrils. Golden light blazed from his hand, racing along the parasite's form. Too much for you to handle, he gasped, his voice sounding strange even to his own ears, deeper, resonant, with an echo that hadn't been there before. The parasite convulsed as golden light consumed it from within. In seconds, it disintegrated into particles of light that scattered on the wind. Goku hung suspended in the air, his body radiating golden energy. His hair had turned a brilliant gold, not the yellow of his Super Saiyan form, but a true metallic gold that seemed to emit light of its own. His eyes burned like miniature suns. What happened to me? He wondered as he stared at his hands, which glowed with internal light. Before he could contemplate further, his vision swam, and he felt himself falling. The last thing he saw before losing consciousness was the ground rushing up to meet him, and strangely, what looked like silver moonlight cutting across the daylit sky. Goku woke with a start, sitting bolt upright. The parasite, he shouted, looking around wildly. But he wasn't where he expected to be. Instead of the barren valley, he found himself in a meadow of tall grass that rippled like golden waves in a gentle breeze. The sky above was a perfect blue without a single cloud. Did someone move me? He wondered aloud, climbing to his feet. He felt different. Energy thrummed through his body, not like his usual ki but something deeper, more primal. It felt like his veins carried liquid sunlight instead of blood. Looking down, Goku realized his tattered gi had been replaced with strange clothing, a sleeveless white tunic bordered with gold patterns that seemed to shift and move when he wasn't looking directly at them. A belt of woven gold cinched it at the waist, and loose white pants ended in boots that seemed to be made of some kind of soft gold material. Okay, This is weird, he muttered, tugging at the unfamiliar clothes. Hello? Is anyone here? Bulma? Vegeta? No one answered, but as he turned, Goku noticed a path through the meadow that hadn't been there a moment before. With no better options, he began following it. As he walked, he became aware of other changes. His senses felt sharper, but in an unusual way. He could feel the grass growing beneath his feet, sense the tiny creatures living in the soil. Most strangely, he could feel the sunlight as a tangible force, almost like it was part of his own body extending outward. The path led to the crest of a gentle hill. As Goku reached the top, he stopped short, his mouth falling open in amazement. Spread out below him was not Earth, at least, not any part of Earth he recognized. A vast city of white marble and gold stretched to the horizon, its spires reaching impossibly high toward the sky. Between the buildings ran what looked like rivers of light, and floating gardens hung suspended at various levels throughout the cityscape. "Where am I?" he whispered. "The celestial nexus," came a voice from behind him. Or more specifically, a mental projection of it within your consciousness. Goku spun around to find himself face to face with an elderly man with a long white beard. Despite his apparent age, he stood straight and tall, his eyes bright and alert. He wore robes similar to Goku's but more elaborate, with symbols woven into the fabric that seemed to tell a story Goku couldn't quite grasp. "Who are you?" Goku asked, automatically dropping into a defensive stance. The old man smiled. "I am, or rather, was, Helios, the former solar god. And you, son Goku, have inadvertently become my successor." Goku blinked. "Solar god? Me? That's crazy. I'm just a scion from Earth." Helios chuckled, the sound like warm sunshine. "Not anymore. When you intercepted that solar flare, you created a perfect conduit for the cosmic solar essence that has been without a vessel for centuries. It recognized your strength, your pure heart, and your self-sacrificing nature, all qualities of a worthy solar god, and bonded with you completely." "But I don't want to be a god," Goku protested. "I just wanted to stop that parasite thing from destroying Earth." "And you did," Helios nodded approvingly. "That parasite, as you call it, was actually a cosmic scout, a fragment of a much darker power that has been seeking the unbound solar essence for millennia. By absorbing the essence yourself, you've protected it from falling into dangerous hands." Goku ran a hand through his hair, which he now noticed had remained in its golden state. "So what does this mean? Am I stuck like this forever?" "The transformation is permanent, yes," Helios confirmed. "But not as limiting as you might fear. You remain who you are, Goku, with all your existing powers and abilities. They'll be enhanced by the solar essence, and you'll develop new abilities as well. But your core self remains unchanged. And this place?" Goku gestured toward the impossible city below. "As I said, this is merely a mental construct, a way for my residual consciousness to communicate with you before it fades. The real celestial nexus exists between dimensions, accessible to cosmic entities like yourself. In time, you'll learn to travel there." Goku frowned. "What about Earth? My family, my friends? You can return to Earth immediately. In fact, your physical body is still there. But I should warn you, your transformation will have consequences. The solar essence is immensely powerful and, until you learn to control it fully, somewhat unstable. Your presence will affect your surroundings in ways you might not anticipate." "Is that dangerous?" Helios's expression grew serious. "It could be. The solar essence influences weather patterns, electromagnetic fields, even the growth of living things. Without proper control, you might accidentally cause droughts, storms, or worse. Then teach me how to control it," Goku said urgently. The old god smiled sadly. "I cannot. My time is nearly done, this echo of my consciousness exists only to welcome my successor. But you won't be alone. There are others who can guide you. Who? The other cosmic guardians. Particularly. Helios paused, looking troubled. The Moon Princess. Moon Princess. Goku repeated. The guardian of lunar energies, counterpart to the solar god. Traditionally, our domains maintain a careful distance from one another, the balance is delicate. But in this circumstance, her knowledge will be invaluable to you. Before Goku could ask more questions, the meadow around them began to shimmer and fade. Helios himself seemed to be growing transparent. What's happening? Goku asked. You're waking up, Helios explained, his voice growing fainter. Remember, Goku, with great power comes great responsibility. The solar essence chose you for a reason. Trust your instincts, but learn control quickly. The balance of your world depends on it. Wait. I have more questions. Goku called out, but the meadow, the city, and Helios himself were dissolving like mist in morning sunlight. One last warning, Helios's voice echoed as he faded from view. Beware the shadows between stars. They hunger for what you now possess. Goku jerked awake with a gasp, sitting up so quickly he felt dizzy. This time, he found himself in familiar surroundings. He was in his own bed, in his small house on Mount Paozu. Sunlight streamed through the window, unusually bright and seeming to seek him out specifically. Easy there, came a familiar voice. Bulma sat in a chair beside his bed, dark circles under her eyes suggesting she hadn't slept much. You've been out for 3 days. 3 days? Goku repeated, his voice cracking from disuse. His throat felt parched. Bulma handed him a glass of water, which he drained instantly. The water felt strangely inadequate, as though his body craved a different kind of sustenance altogether. What happened? He asked. The parasite, completely destroyed, Bulma confirmed. We found traces of it in the atmosphere, all inert. Whatever you did worked. But Goku. She hesitated. Something happened to you. He nodded slowly. I know. I absorbed the solar flare somehow. And now I'm different. Different is an understatement, Bulma said, pulling out a small device and showing him readings on its screen. Your cellular structure has been completely altered. You're putting out energy signatures unlike anything I've ever recorded. And your appearance. She handed him a small mirror. Goku took it hesitantly, almost afraid of what he might see. His reflection showed a face he recognized as his own, but changed. His eyes burned with golden light from within, his hair remained that metallic gold color, and his skin seemed to glow with an internal radiance. Whoa, he whispered. So it wasn't just a dream. What wasn't? Bulma asked sharply. Goku explained his vision of Helios and the celestial nexus, watching Bulma's expression grow increasingly concerned. So you're telling me you're the new solar god, she said when he'd finished. That's incredible. And potentially catastrophic. What do you mean? Bulma stood and walked to the window. While you were unconscious, we've been experiencing weather anomalies. Extreme heat waves, unexpected aurora phenomena, even spontaneous plant growth. All centered around this house. She pulled back the curtain fully, revealing the view outside. Goku's eyes widened. The normally modest garden around his house had exploded into a riot of growth, trees twice their normal size, flowers blooming in impossible colors, grass so lush it looked almost artificial. I did that? He asked in amazement. Apparently just by being here, Bulma confirmed. And it's not just here. Weather patterns are disrupted across the hemisphere. We've had to tell people it's related to the cosmic anomaly that brought the parasite, which isn't entirely untrue. Goku climbed out of bed, noticing he was wearing simple pajamas rather than either his GI or the strange white and gold outfit from his vision. I need to get control of this. Helios said the Moon Princess could help me. Bulma raised an eyebrow. Moon Princess. That sounds like something from a children's story. Maybe, but if I really am this solar god now, then she must be real too. I just need to figure out how to find her. Before Bulma could respond, a deep rumble shook the house. It wasn't like an earthquake, more like distant thunder, except continuous and growing louder. What now? Bulma muttered, rushing to the window again. Outside, the previously clear sky had darkened dramatically. Storm clouds rolled in from all directions, swirling in an unnatural pattern directly overhead. Lightning flashed between them, but strangely silver in color rather than the usual blue-white. I don't think those are normal clouds, Goku said, his new senses detecting something distinctly otherworldly about the phenomenon. As if in response to his words, the clouds parted in the center, creating a perfect circle through which a beam of silver light shot down, striking the ground in Goku's front yard. The light was so bright that both Goku and Bulma had to shield their eyes. When the light faded enough for them to look again, a figure stood in the yard, a woman unlike any Goku had seen before. She was tall and slender, with flowing silver-white hair that reached past her waist. She wore an elegant white dress adorned with silver embroidery that seemed to reflect moonlight despite the middle of the day. A crescent moon symbol glowed on her forehead, and her eyes, when she lifted them to the house, were the color of moonstone, shifting between silver and pale blue. I'm guessing that's your moon princess, Bulma said dryly. Goku nodded, feeling a strange resonance within him, as though the solar energy in his body was responding to her presence. Yeah, I think so. The woman's expression was stern as she surveyed the overgrown garden, the unnaturally bright sunlight, and finally the house itself. She raised one graceful hand, pointing directly at the window where Goku stood. Solar God, her voice carried clearly across the distance, melodious yet commanding. You have disrupted the cosmic balance. You will come with me and answer for this transgression. Answer 4. Hey, I didn't ask for this. Goku protested, though she probably couldn't hear him through the window. She doesn't look like she's here to help, Bulma observed. More like she's here to arrest you. Goku frowned. Only one way to find out. Without waiting for Bulma's response, he headed for the front door. As he stepped outside into the sunlight, he felt an immediate surge of energy, the solar essence within him responding to direct sunlight, feeding on it, growing stronger. The Moon Princess watched his approach, her posture rigid and formal. Up close, Goku could see that what he'd taken for embroidery on her dress was actually an intricate pattern of moonlight, constantly shifting and flowing across the fabric. Hi, he said, raising a hand in greeting. I'm Goku. You must be the Moon Princess. Her expression remained cold. I am Serenity, guardian of the lunar domain and keeper of the tides. And you are an anomaly, a mortal who has somehow absorbed the unbound solar essence. Yeah, about that, it was an accident. I was trying to save Earth from this energy parasite thing, and, I know what happened, Serenity interrupted. The cosmic ripples of such an event are impossible to miss. What concerns me is your complete lack of control. Do you realize what you're doing to this planet's systems? Goku scratched the back of his head. Bulma mentioned something about weather patterns. Weather patterns? Serenity's voice rose slightly. You've accelerated plant growth across an entire continent. You've disrupted migration patterns of birds and sea creatures. The electromagnetic disturbances you're causing have disrupted communications globally. And that's just in 3 days of unconsciousness. What might happen when you actively start using your powers? That's why I need help, Goku said earnestly. Helios told me you could teach me to control this. At the mention of Helios, Serenity's eyes widened fractionally. You communed with Helios? His consciousness has been dormant for centuries. Well, he said it was just an echo or something. But he told me you could help me. Serenity studied him for a long moment, her moonstone eyes seeming to peer straight through him. Helios was optimistic about mortal potential. I am not so easily convinced. Before Goku could respond, a strange sensation prickled at the base of his skull. A warning. Something was coming. Get down, he shouted, lunging forward to tackle Serenity just as a bolt of pure darkness shot through the space where she'd been standing. They tumbled to the ground together, Goku instinctively rolling to take the impact. For a brief moment, they were face to face, close enough that he could see flecks of deep blue in her silvery eyes. Then she shoved him away, leaping gracefully to her feet. How dare you, she began, but stopped as she saw what had attacked her. Floating above the garden were three shadowy figures. They looked vaguely humanoid, but their forms constantly shifted and wavered, as though they weren't fully present in this reality. Their eyes glowed with an eerie purple light, and tendrils of darkness drifted from their forms like smoke. Shadow wraiths, Serenity whispered, her hand moving to a silver pendant at her throat. But they never come to Earth. Friends of yours? Goku asked, dropping into a fighting stance. Hardly, she replied tersely. They serve the void. And they should not be able to manifest in daylight. As if to prove her wrong, the wraiths surged forward. Two headed straight for Goku while the third targeted Serenity. Their forms stretched and distorted as they moved, covering ground with unnatural speed. Goku met the attack head-on, throwing a punch at the nearest wraith. To his surprise, his fist passed straight through its shadowy form. The creature seemed equally surprised, hesitating momentarily before wrapping a tendril of darkness around Goku's arm. The contact sent a chill through him unlike anything he'd felt before, not physical cold, but something deeper, as though the shadow was trying to extinguish the very light within him. Instinctively, Goku flared his energy, and the solar essence responded immediately. Golden light blazed from his body, causing the wraith to recoil with a hissing sound. They're vulnerable to direct light, he called to Serenity, who was gracefully dodging the attacks of her opponent. Obviously, she replied, sounding slightly irritated. She raised her hand, and a beam of concentrated moonlight shot from her palm, slicing through the shadow wraith. The creature dissolved with a high-pitched wail. Goku, taking her cue, focused on the feeling of sunlight feeding into his body and directed that energy outward through his hands. Golden beams of solar energy shot forth, catching one wraith directly. Like Serenity's opponent, it disintegrated immediately. The remaining wraith, seeing its companions destroyed, began to retreat. But Serenity moved with surprising speed, cutting off its escape route. "Oh no you don't," she said coldly. "You'll tell me who sent you." The wraith hissed, its form wavering more violently. "The void sees, the void knows, the solar-lunar convergence cannot be allowed." Goku moved closer, solar energy still pulsing around his fists. "Who's the void? And what convergence?" Instead of answering, the wraith suddenly expanded, its shadowy form stretching outward in all directions. Before either Goku or Serenity could react, it exploded in a burst of dark energy. The shockwave knocked both of them backward. Goku recovered quickly, rolling to his feet, but immediately noticed something was wrong. The garden where they stood was withering before his eyes, plants blackening and crumbling to dust, grass turning gray and lifeless. The effect spread outward from the point where the wraith had exploded, like a rapidly expanding circle of death. "What's it doing?" Goku asked, alarmed. Serenity's face was grim. "It's releasing void energy, the opposite of life force. It will consume everything it touches. How do we stop it?" "We counter it with life energy." She looked at him meaningfully. "Solar energy." Goku nodded in understanding. He planted his feet firmly and focused inward, feeling for the wellspring of solar power that now resided within him. It responded eagerly, perhaps too eagerly. Power surged through him in a rush that was almost painful in its intensity. "Careful," Serenity warned, seeing his struggle. "Don't release it all at once. Focus on containment and purification." "I don't know how to do that." Goku admitted through gritted teeth, the power building to dangerous levels. Serenity hesitated for only a moment before stepping closer. Then let me guide you. She placed her hand on his arm, and immediately Goku felt a cooling sensation counterbalancing the burning solar energy. Our energies are complementary, she explained quickly. Solar and lunar, day and night. Focus on pushing the energy outward, but through the pattern I create. Goku wasn't entirely sure what she meant, but he could feel her energy intertwining with his, silver moonlight weaving through golden sunlight, creating a balanced force. Following her lead, he directed this combined energy toward the spreading void effect. Where their light touched the creeping darkness, the decay stopped. Gradually, they expanded their effort, pushing back against the void energy until it was contained within a small circle. With a final focused burst, they eliminated it completely. The effort left Goku breathing hard, and used to this type of energy manipulation. Serenity, though appearing calm, had a slight sheen of perspiration on her forehead. That was. Goku began. Concerning, Serenity finished for him. Shadow wraiths cannot manifest in the mortal realm without assistance, especially not in daylight. Someone sent them. Specifically to target us. That void thing they mentioned. She nodded grimly. Likely Umbra, the Void Emperor. An ancient entity who has sought to consume both solar and lunar energies for millennia. She gave Goku an appraising look. This changes things. If Umbra is aware of your transformation, both our domains are at risk. So you'll help me learn control? Goku asked hopefully. Serenity sighed. It appears I have little choice. Your uncontrolled power is a beacon to Umbra and his servants. And clearly, you have no idea what you're doing. Hey, I did okay against those wraith things. Pure luck and raw power, she dismissed. Without proper training, you'll either destroy this planet accidentally or serve it up to Umbra on a silver platter. From the house, Bulma cleared her throat loudly. She had watched the entire battle from the doorway and now approached cautiously. Not to interrupt this fascinating discussion, she said, but those shadow things, more might be coming, right? Should we be preparing? Warning people. Serenity turned her moonstone gaze to Bulma. You're a mortal scientist. The blue-haired one who monitors cosmic anomalies. Bulma looked surprised. You know who I am. The Lunar Court keeps track of mortals who might notice our activities, Serenity explained. And to answer your question, yes, more will likely come. But not immediately. That attack was a test, a way to confirm what they sensed. So we have time, Goku said. Some, but not much, Serenity agreed. You need to learn the basics of cosmic energy control quickly. And for that, we should go somewhere less populated. Where? Goku asked. The celestial realm, she replied. The space between dimensions where cosmic entities can interact without affecting mortal worlds. Goku brightened. The place with the white city and the floating gardens. I saw it in my vision. Serenity looked surprised again. You've seen the Nexus. Interesting. But the real thing is quite different from a mental construct. How do we get there? For me, it's simple, she said, raising a hand as if reaching for something invisible. Silver light gathered around her fingers. For you, you'll need to follow my energy signature. Can you sense it? Goku closed his eyes, focusing on the unique feeling of Serenity's lunar energy. It was cool and rhythmic, like ocean tides, a perfect counterpoint to the blazing heat of his own power. Yeah, I've got it, he confirmed. Good. Then, she was interrupted by a tremendous crack of thunder. Both Goku and Serenity looked up to see the sky darkening again, but not with storm clouds this time. The very air seemed to be tearing open, revealing a swirling vortex of stars and darkness. What now? Bulma exclaimed. Serenity's expression turned alarmed. The dimensional barrier is weakening. Your uncontrolled power is disrupting the boundaries between realms. That's bad, right? Goku asked. Catastrophic, Serenity confirmed. If the barrier collapses, this entire region could be exposed to raw cosmic energy or, worse, void space. So fix it. Bulma urged. We need to stabilize the boundary, Serenity said, turning to Goku. This will be your first lesson in cosmic energy manipulation. We need to create a seal, a balanced application of both solar and lunar energies. Just tell me what to do, Goku said, looking up at the growing rift with determination. Serenity positioned herself beside him, both facing the dimensional tear. Solar energy creates. Lunar energy shapes. Together, they can mend. Focus your energy upward, but let me direct its form. Goku nodded, centering himself. This time, when he called on the solar essence, he tried to be more measured, drawing it forth gradually rather than in a rush. Golden light surrounded him, lifting his hair and clothes as though he stood in an updraft of pure energy. Beside him, Serenity began to glow with silver light. She raised both hands toward the rift, and moonlight streamed from her fingertips in intricate patterns. Taking his cue, Goku directed his solar energy upward along the same path. Where the gold and silver energies met, they intertwined, creating a weave of light that began to seal the edges of the tear. Goku could feel Serenity's will guiding his power, showing him how to apply it with precision rather than brute force. The work was delicate and demanded intense concentration. Sweat beaded on Goku's forehead as he struggled to maintain the careful balance Serenity was teaching him. It was like nothing he'd done before, not a ki blast or a power-up, but a sustained, controlled application of energy with a specific purpose. Stay focused, Serenity's voice reached him. Feel the pattern, don't force it. Gradually, the rift began to close. The swirling vortex of cosmic space receded as their combined power stitched the dimensional boundary back together. With a final surge of effort, they sealed the last portion, and the sky returned to normal, clear blue with the sun shining brightly. Goku let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. We did it. Barely, Serenity replied, though her tone held a hint of approval. Your control needs significant improvement, but you learn quickly. That's unexpected. Thanks. Goku said, unsure if it was actually a compliment. Bulma approached them, looking relieved but concerned. That was too close. And it happened just because Goku's here, right? What happens if he stays on Earth while learning to control these new powers? Serenity nodded grimly. More disruptions. Worse ones. The dimensional barrier would continue to weaken until it failed completely. Then I need to leave, Goku said, the reality of his situation sinking in. At least until I get control of this. Precisely, Serenity agreed. We need to depart for the celestial realm immediately. Goku turned to Bulma. Can you explain to everyone? Chi-Chi, Gohan, all the others. Bulma nodded, though she looked worried. I'll try. But you know how Chi-Chi gets when you disappear on cosmic adventures. Tell her I'll be back as soon as I can, Goku said. This is to protect Earth, not just another training trip. How long will he be gone? Bulma asked Serenity directly. The Moon Princess's expression remained neutral. Time flows differently in the celestial realm. What might feel like weeks there could be days here, or vice versa. But the basics of cosmic energy control should not take more than a lunar cycle to master. A month, Bulma translated. I'll let everyone know. Goku looked around his home with a sudden pang of sadness. He was used to leaving for training, but this felt different, more significant, as though he might be returning as someone fundamentally changed. Ready? Serenity asked, extending her hand toward him. Goku hesitated only a moment before nodding. Ready. He reached out, his golden glowing hand clasping her silver one. The moment they touched, a spark of energy passed between them, not uncomfortable, but startling in its intensity. Serenity looked momentarily surprised before composing her features again. Focus on my energy signature, she instructed. Let it guide you through the dimensional shift. Goku closed his eyes, concentrating on the unique pattern of Serenity's lunar power. He felt a tugging sensation, as though his very essence was being drawn along a silver thread. Safe travels, Bulma's voice reached him, already sounding distant. The world around them began to fade, reality itself seeming to thin and stretch. Goku felt weightless, boundless, as though he were becoming pure energy. Through it all, Serenity's hand remained firmly in his, anchoring him as they traveled between dimensions. The journey lasted both an instant and an eternity. When Goku felt solid ground beneath his feet again, he opened his eyes, and gasped. They stood on a crystalline platform floating in what appeared to be outer space, but unlike any space Goku had seen before. Nebulae in impossible colors swirled around them. Stars pulsed with rhythmic light, as though breathing. In the distance, structures of gleaming white material floated untethered to any planetary body, the beginnings of the vast city he'd glimpsed in his vision. Welcome, Serenity said, releasing his hand, to the celestial realm. It's amazing, Goku breathed, turning in a full circle to take in the otherworldly panorama. This is merely the threshold, Serenity informed him. The lunar sanctuary lies in that direction. She pointed toward a softly glowing silver structure in the distance. But first, we should establish some ground rules for your training. Goku tore his gaze away from the spectacular view to focus on her. Rules? Yes. First and foremost, in the celestial realm, intent matters as much as action. Your thoughts and emotions will directly affect your surroundings, so discipline is essential. That could be a problem, Goku admitted. I'm not great at holding back my emotions. I've noticed, Serenity said dryly. Second rule, the cosmic domains maintain careful separation for good reason. While we're working together temporarily, do not mistake this for permanent arrangement. Once you've mastered control, you'll need to establish your own domain away from lunar territory. My own domain? You mean like, my own piece of space? Essentially, yes. The previous solar god maintained the solar nexus, a region near your sun but in a parallel dimensional phase. It's likely been dormant since Helios faded, but the infrastructure should remain. Goku scratched his head. This is all way more complicated than I expected. Godhood usually is, Serenity replied without sympathy. Final rule, while in the celestial realm, you will encounter other cosmic entities. Some are aligned with specific elements or concepts, others with celestial bodies. All maintain a delicate balance of power and influence. As an unrecognized and untrained solar god, you represent a disruption to that balance. Be respectful and, whenever possible, defer to established protocols. So basically, don't pick fights and be polite. A flicker of what might have been amusement crossed Serenity's face before vanishing. A simplification, but accurate enough. Before they could continue, a streak of silver light approached rapidly from the direction of the lunar sanctuary. It resolved into a figure as it drew nearer, a young woman with short blue hair and silver armor that resembled scales. She bowed deeply to Serenity before casting a suspicious glance at Goku. Your Radiance, she addressed Serenity formally. The lunar court has detected the presence of solar essence within our domain. Is there cause for alarm? No, Selene, Serenity replied. This is Goku, the new vessel of the solar essence. I've brought him here for training. Selene's eyes widened as she examined Goku more carefully. The solar essence has chosen a mortal. This is unprecedented. Not entirely, Serenity corrected. Merely uncommon. Inform the court that I vouch for his presence and will personally oversee his instruction. The messenger looked like she had more questions but simply bowed again. As you wish, Your Radiance. Shall I prepare accommodations in the outer sanctum? Yes. And summon the Council of Tides for an emergency session. They should be informed of recent developments, particularly the Shadow Wraith incursion on Earth. At the mention of Shadow Wraiths, Selene's expression grew alarmed. They breached the mortal realm. In daylight? Indeed. A concerning development that requires immediate attention. I'll inform them at once. With another bow, Selene transformed back into a streak of silver light and sped away toward the sanctuary. Council of Tides. Goku asked once she'd gone. My advisors, Serenity explained. Ancient lunar spirits who help maintain the cosmic balance. Their perspective will be valuable in understanding why Umbra has chosen this moment to act. She began walking along a path of light that appeared beneath their feet, leading toward the lunar sanctuary. Come. Your training begins now. As they walked, Goku found himself stealing glances at Serenity. Despite her formal manner and obvious irritation with him, there was something compelling about her, a quiet strength and dignity that reminded him of the moon itself, constant yet ever-changing. So, he ventured, have you always been the Moon Princess? Were you born that way, or? Serenity was silent for a long moment, and Goku thought she might ignore the question entirely. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer than before. I was chosen, as you were, though with more ceremony and preparation. The lunar essence has passed from guardian to guardian for thousands of years. I have served as its vessel for. She paused, as though calculating. By Earth reckoning, approximately 8 centuries. 800 years. Goku exclaimed. That's incredible. You don't look a day over 25. A faint smile touched her lips. Cosmic entities don't age as mortals do. Time affects us differently. Though I must say, you're taking your own transformation rather calmly. Goku shrugged. I've been through a lot of weird stuff. Turned into different Super Saiyan forms, fused with other people, died and come back to life a few times. Becoming a solar god is just the latest adventure. You speak of death as though it were a temporary inconvenience, Serenity noted, sounding genuinely curious. For me, it kind of has been, Goku admitted. But I know that's not normal. I've just been lucky. Perhaps not luck, Serenity mused. The solar essence may have been drawn to you precisely because of your unusual relationship with mortality. Cosmic powers often seek vessels that already stand somewhat apart from normal existence. They had nearly reached the outer edges of the lunar sanctuary now. Up close, Goku could see that what had appeared to be a single structure was actually a complex of interconnected buildings and floating gardens, all made of a material that resembled silver crystal. Moonlight, real moonlight, somehow present even in this starry void, bathed everything in a soft glow. It's beautiful, Goku said sincerely. Thank you, Serenity replied, a hint of pride in her voice. It has been my home for centuries. Now, it will be your training ground for a time. As they approached the main entrance, a group of figures emerged to greet them. Unlike Selene, these beings varied wildly in appearance, some appeared humanoid, others more ethereal or elemental. All bore the crescent moon symbol somewhere on their person, and all regarded Goku with expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. The Council of Tides, Serenity introduced them with a gesture. My advisors and the keepers of lunar tradition. An elderly woman stepped forward from the group, her silver hair arranged in an elaborate updo adorned with crystal ornaments. Your Radiance, she addressed Serenity with a deep bow before turning evaluating eyes on Goku. So this is the new solar god. A mortal? Yes, Elder Selene, Serenity confirmed. This is Son Goku of Earth. He absorbed the unbound solar essence while defending his planet from a cosmic threat. Murmurs ran through the assembled council members. Elder Selene's expression remained skeptical. And you've brought him to the sanctuary? Is that wise? The solar and lunar domains have maintained separation for millennia. Circumstances demand adaptation, Serenity replied firmly. Shadow wraiths attacked us on Earth, in full daylight. They spoke of Umbra and a solar-lunar convergence that cannot be allowed. This news caused a much stronger reaction among the council. Several members gasped audibly, while others began speaking urgently to one another in languages Goku didn't recognize. Elder Selene's face had gone pale. Umbra stirs again. After all this time? It appears so, Serenity confirmed. And given his specific targeting of both myself and the new solar god, I believe he sees our combined presence as a threat. Or an opportunity, added another council member, a tall man with features that seemed to shift like the tides. Umbra has always sought to absorb both solar and lunar essences. With both active and in proximity. All the more reason for Son Goku to learn control quickly, Serenity cut in. His untrained power is a beacon across the cosmos. Elder Selene studied Goku intently. And you believe he can master cosmic energy manipulation? Even Helios spent decades perfecting his control. We don't have decades, Serenity said flatly. We have weeks at most before Umbra makes his next move. Hey, Goku interjected, feeling slightly annoyed at being talked about as if he weren't present. I'm a fast learner when it comes to fighting and energy techniques. I mastered the Kamehameha the first time I saw it, and that took Master Roshi 50 years. The council members looked at him with varying degrees of surprise, clearly not expecting him to speak up. Serenity cleared her throat. Son Goku is indeed, unusually adept at energy manipulation. And he's already demonstrated a natural resonance with the solar essence. I believe intensive training could prepare him for basic defense against Umbra's forces, even on an accelerated timeline. Elder Selene didn't look entirely convinced but nodded slowly. Very well. We will trust your Radiance's judgment in this matter. But the council requests regular updates on his progress and any further signs of Umbra's activities. Of course, Serenity agreed. Now, if you'll excuse us, we should begin immediately. With a wave of her hand, she dismissed the council, who withdrew with formal bows. Only Elder Selene remained, giving Goku one last appraising look before addressing Serenity in a lowered voice. Be careful, Your Radiance. The prophecy speaks of great change when sun and moon unite. Change is not always beneficial to those who guard the old ways. Serenity's expression remained impassive. Thank you for your concern, Elder. I am well aware of the prophecies. With a final bow, Elder Selene departed, leaving Goku and Serenity alone at the entrance to the sanctuary. Prophecy? Goku questioned. What prophecy? Nothing you need concern yourself with at present, Serenity replied dismissively. Ancient lunar texts contain many prophecies, most of which are allegorical rather than literal. Before Goku could press further, the ground beneath them trembled. A low rumble echoed through the celestial realm, and in the distance, stars seemed to flicker and dim momentarily. What was that? Goku asked, automatically dropping into a defensive stance. Serenity's face grew grim. A dimensional tremor. Umbra's influence grows stronger. She turned to Goku with newfound urgency. We have less time than I thought. Your first lesson begins now. In a chamber deep within the lunar sanctuary, Goku stood in the center of a circular platform inscribed with silver runes. Above him, a dome of crystal captured and magnified the ambient moonlight, creating patterns of illumination that shifted and flowed across the floor. The solar essence responds to emotion and intent, Serenity explained, circling him slowly. Unlike lunar energy, which follows rhythm and pattern, solar power surges with passion and vitality. So I should get emotional? Goku asked, confused. No, she corrected sharply. You should recognize the emotional nature of your power without being controlled by it. Feel it, acknowledge it, then direct it with purpose. She gestured, and small orbs of silver light appeared, floating at various distances around Goku. Your first exercise is simple, touch each orb with solar energy, but only enough to make it glow, not enough to dispel it. Think of it as, adjusting the flame on a stove. Goku nodded, focusing on the nearest orb. He reached for the solar energy within him, feeling it respond eagerly, almost too eagerly. Golden light flared around his hand as he directed it toward the target. The moment his energy touched the orb, it flashed brilliantly and vanished. Too much, Serenity said flatly. Again. Another orb moved into position. Goku tried again, this time attempting to restrain the flow of power. But restraint wasn't something that came naturally to him, he either went all out or held back entirely. The second orb flashed and disappeared like the first. Serenity sighed. You're approaching this like a warrior, not a god. Solar energy isn't just a weapon or a power source. It's a fundamental creative force. Don't push it outward like a ki blast. Let it flow naturally, like sunlight through leaves. Goku took a deep breath, trying to visualize what she described. He extended his hand toward the third orb, but this time, instead of forcing his power outward, he imagined it radiating gently from his skin like warmth on a summer day. The orb began to glow golden but remained intact. Better, Serenity acknowledged with a nod. Now maintain that connection while I move the orb. The silver sphere began to drift in a complex pattern. Goku followed it with his hand, trying to keep the flow of energy steady. For several seconds, he managed it, but when the orb suddenly changed direction, his concentration slipped. A surge of power shot forth, obliterating the target. Again, Serenity commanded, conjuring more orbs. They continued this exercise for what felt like hours. Gradually, Goku began to develop a feel for the solar essence, not just as raw power but as a living energy with its own nature. By the time they finished, he could maintain a steady connection with an orb for nearly a minute as it moved through increasingly complex patterns. That's enough for now, Serenity said finally. You're making progress, but true mastery will require more than technical skill. You need to understand the nature and purpose of solar energy in the cosmic balance. Goku lowered his hand, suddenly aware of how tired he felt. Not physically, his body seemed energized by the abundant cosmic power surrounding them, but mentally. The precise control Serenity demanded was a kind of exertion he wasn't used to. What happens next? He asked. Rest. Reflection. She gestured, and the platform beneath them glowed, revealing a pathway leading to a small adjoining chamber. These will be your quarters during your stay. They've been specially prepared to contain solar energy, so you won't disrupt the sanctuary's balance while you sleep. Goku looked at the small room with its simple furnishings. Will I dream of Helios again? Possibly. The residual consciousness of a former cosmic entity often seeks to guide its successor. If he appears to you, pay attention. Helios was wise, if sometimes too optimistic about mortal potential. She turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. Tomorrow, we'll begin work on a more critical skill, dimensional sealing. If Umbra is truly awakening, you'll need to know how to close the pathways he might use to enter our realms. Like we did with that tear in the sky on Earth. Similar, but more complex. That was a natural weakness in the barrier. Umbra creates deliberate breaches, much harder to seal. She studied him for a moment. You should know that this training, what I'm teaching you, goes against centuries of tradition. Solar and lunar knowledge has been kept separate by design. Why? Goku asked. If our powers work well together, like they did against those shadow wraiths, wouldn't it make sense to cooperate? A shadow passed across Serenity's face. History suggests otherwise. The last time solar and lunar forces aligned too closely, the results were catastrophic. Before Goku could ask more, she turned away. Rest now. Dawn comes quickly in the celestial realm, and with it, new challenges. As she glided from the room, Goku couldn't help but wonder what history she referred to, and why the council seemed so concerned about a prophecy involving sun and moon uniting. He settled onto the bed, which was surprisingly comfortable despite appearing to be made of some kind of crystalline material. As sleep began to claim him, he focused on what he'd learned. The solar essence wasn't just raw power to be unleashed, it was a fundamental force of creation, life, and energy. And somehow, he needed to master it quickly enough to face a cosmic threat he barely understood. His last conscious thought before drifting off was of Serenity's face when they'd combined their powers, the surprise in her eyes when she felt how naturally their energies harmonized, despite her insistence that solar and lunar forces should remain separate. There was a mystery there, one he intended to unravel, right after he figured out how to be a proper solar god. Goku's dreams were a chaotic swirl of images and sensations, solar flares, shadow wraiths, and Serenity's moonstone eyes. But as the dream hours passed, the chaos gradually resolved into a familiar meadow of golden grass beneath a perfect blue sky. "You return," observed Helios, appearing beside him as though he'd always been there. "How goes your training?" "It's different from what I'm used to," Goku admitted. "More about control than power." The old god smiled. "As it should be. The solar essence contains power enough to birth stars. Learning to restrain it is far more challenging than learning to unleash it." "Serenity seems to think I'm hopeless," Goku said with a rueful laugh. "The Moon Princess has always been cautious. Especially regarding interactions between our domains." Helios's expression grew thoughtful. "But she agreed to train you, which tells me she sees potential in you, whatever her outward demeanor might suggest. There's something she's not telling me," Goku said. "Something about a prophecy and a catastrophe involving solar and lunar forces in the past. Do you know anything about that?" Helios's form seemed to flicker slightly, like sunlight through leaves. "My memories are incomplete, merely echoes of my full consciousness. But yes, there was a time when a solar god and lunar guardian grew, too close. Their combined power created something new, something neither fully solar nor lunar." "That doesn't sound so bad," Goku observed. "Perhaps not in itself. But it disrupted the cosmic balance, created vulnerabilities that Umbra exploited. Many worlds were lost before balance was restored." Helios sighed, the sound like a warm breeze. "Since then, our domains have maintained careful distance from one another. But Serenity and I already combined our powers to seal that dimensional rift. And to defeat the shadow wraiths." "Yes," Helios nodded. "Because necessity demanded it. The emergence of a new solar god simultaneously with Umbra's awakening creates unusual circumstances." Goku thought about this for a moment. "So the prophecy Elder Selim mentioned, it's about the sun and moon uniting again? And they're afraid it will cause another disaster?" "Prophecies are rarely straightforward," Helios cautioned. "The texts speak of sun and moon joining to remake the cosmic order. Some interpret this as catastrophe, others as necessary evolution. And what do you think?" The old god smiled enigmatically. "I think that you, Son Goku, are unlike any solar god before you. Your mortal experience, your unique perspective, may allow you to find a path where others saw only walls." "That doesn't really answer my question," Goku pointed out. "No," Helios agreed, his form beginning to fade as the dreamscape around them grew brighter. "But perhaps the answer is one you must discover for yourself." As Helios disappeared and the dream dissolved, Goku felt himself rising back to consciousness. But just before waking fully, he caught a final whispered message from the former solar god: "Trust your instincts, Goku. And remember, the greatest light casts the darkest shadows." Goku awoke to find the celestial realm in what appeared to be its version of morning, the ambient light brighter, the distant stars pulsing with renewed energy. As he rose and stretched, he noticed that sometime during his sleep, someone had left fresh clothing for him, a white and gold outfit similar to what he'd seen in his first vision, but simpler, more practical for training. As he changed, he reflected on Helios's words about the prophecy and the past connection between solar and lunar forces. Clearly, there was a history Serenity wasn't sharing, one that explained her reluctance to work with him despite the obvious effectiveness of their combined powers. Before he could ponder further, a gentle chime sounded, and the door to his chamber opened to reveal Selene, the messenger from yesterday. "Solar God," she addressed him formally, though her expression remained wary. "Her Radiance requests your presence in the Reflection Garden for today's training." "Lead the way," Goku replied cheerfully. And just call me Goku. The whole solar god thing still feels weird. Selene looked scandalized. It would be improper to address a cosmic entity by a mortal name. Even if that's what I prefer. She hesitated, clearly torn between protocol and his direct request. Perhaps Lord Goku would be a suitable compromise. He laughed. Just Goku is fine, really. But if it makes you more comfortable, do whatever works for you. As they walked through the corridors of the lunar sanctuary, Goku marveled at the architecture. The walls appeared to be made of solid moonlight somehow crystallized into permanent form. Everywhere, water flowed in carefully designed channels, creating a constant gentle music that reminded him of rainfall. This place is amazing, he commented. How was it built? Selene seemed surprised by his interest. The sanctuary grew rather than was built, shaped by the will and power of successive lunar guardians over thousands of years. Every princess adds her own touch to its design. And which parts did Serenity add? A small smile touched Selene's lips. The living gardens are her radiance's creation. Before her, the sanctuary was beautiful but static. She brought change and growth to our realm. They passed through an archway that opened onto a breathtaking vista, a vast garden suspended in space, with plants unlike any Goku had seen on Earth. Some resembled flowers but glowed with internal light, others moved with apparent sentience, their leaves and stems shifting to follow their passage. In the center of the garden stood Serenity, her back to them as she gazed out at the cosmic expanse beyond. Even from behind, she radiated a quiet dignity and power that commanded respect. Your Radiance, Selene announced. I've brought the Solar G, Lord Goku, as requested. Serenity turned, her moonstone eyes taking in Goku's appearance in the traditional solar garments. For a brief moment, something like approval flickered across her features. Thank you, Selene. That will be all. The messenger bowed and departed, leaving Goku and Serenity alone among the luminous plants. Did you rest well? Serenity inquired, her tone formal but not unkind. Yeah, thanks. Had another chat with Helios in my dreams. This caught her interest. And what wisdom did the former solar god impart? Goku decided on directness. He told me a little about the prophecy, about sun and moon uniting and remaking the cosmic order. And about something that happened in the past between a solar god and lunar guardian. Serenity's expression cooled noticeably. Helios was always too free with information that doesn't concern newcomers. Doesn't concern me? Goku challenged. If there's some reason our powers shouldn't work together, even though they clearly do, I think that does concern me. She was silent for a long moment, seeming to debate with herself. Finally, she sighed. Very well. Since Helios has already opened this topic, I suppose you deserve the full story. She gestured to a bench formed from what appeared to be living crystal. Sit. This is not a short tale. Goku sat, and Serenity joined him, maintaining a careful distance between them. Thousands of years ago, she began, long before I became the Moon Princess, a solar god named Apollos and a lunar guardian named Diana fell in love. That doesn't sound so terrible, Goku interjected. Serenity gave him a look that silenced further comments. Their love itself was not the problem. The issue arose when they began to experiment with combining their essences, not just working in concert, as we did against the shadow wraiths, but actually merging their cosmic energies on a fundamental level. The result was something new, a power neither solar nor lunar, but something transcendent. They called it the Eclipse Force. At first, it seemed wondrous, allowing them to create and shape reality in ways neither could alone. But power changes perspective. They began to believe they could remake the cosmic order, improve upon the natural balance established since the beginning of time. Other cosmic entities grew concerned, especially when Apollos and Diana started reshaping entire star systems according to their vision of perfection. The Council of Cosmic Entities demanded they cease their experiments, but by then, Apollos and Diana believed themselves beyond accountability. Their defiance led to conflict, the first cosmic war. Goku listened intently, trying to imagine a battle on the scale Serenity described, entire galaxies as the battlefield, cosmic forces as weapons. During this conflict, she continued, Umbra first emerged from the void between universes. Unlike other cosmic entities tied to creation and order, Umbra represented entropy and unbeing. The chaos of war created weaknesses in the dimensional barriers, allowing Umbra to enter our reality. Apollos and Diana immediately recognized the threat Umbra posed, a force that could consume both solar and lunar essences. They attempted to use their eclipse force against him, but their power had become unpredictable, destabilized by conflict and pride. In the final confrontation, something went catastrophically wrong. The eclipse force collapsed in upon itself, creating a cosmic anomaly, a black hole of unprecedented power. It consumed Apollos and Diana, along with countless stars, worlds, and the beings that inhabited them. The surviving cosmic entities managed to seal Umbra back in the void, but at terrible cost. And the black hole created by the eclipse force's collapse remains to this day, what your astronomers call Sagittarius A, at the center of your galaxy. She fell silent, allowing Goku to process this revelation. That's a lot, he admitted finally. But it sounds like the real problem wasn't that they worked together, but that they got arrogant with their power. Serenity shook her head. You missed the point. The eclipse force itself was inherently unstable, a violation of cosmic law. Solar and lunar essences can work in concert, as complementary forces, but actual merging creates something fundamentally unsustainable. Says who? Goku challenged. Maybe they just didn't do it right. Or maybe they needed more practice before trying to reshape entire star systems. This is precisely the kind of thinking that led to disaster, Serenity said sharply. The casual dismissal of cosmic laws that have maintained balance for eons. I'm not dismissing anything, Goku countered. I'm just saying that sometimes old rules need to be reconsidered. Especially when we're facing a threat like Umbra. Serenity stood abruptly. This discussion is pointless. We have more pressing concerns than revisiting ancient history. Today's training will focus on dimensional sealing, a skill you'll need when Umbra attempts to breach our realms. Recognizing that he wouldn't get further with this line of questioning, Goku nodded and stood as well. All right. I'm ready. Serenity led him to an open area at the garden's edge, where space itself seemed thinner somehow, the barrier between the celestial realm and whatever lay beyond visibly wavering, like heat above a summer road. This is a controlled dimensional boundary, she explained, her tone shifting to that of an instructor. Weakened deliberately for training purposes. I will create a small breach, and you will seal it using the techniques we practiced yesterday. Without waiting for his response, she extended a hand toward the boundary. Silver light gathered at her fingertips, then shot forth in a concentrated beam. Where it struck the dimensional membrane, a small tear appeared, similar to the rift that had formed above Goku's house on Earth, but much smaller and controlled. Now, Serenity commanded. Remember, solar energy creates, lunar energy shapes. Focus on generating the raw material to repair the breach, but with precision. Goku centered himself, drawing on the solar essence more carefully than before. He extended his hand, directing golden energy toward the tear. As his power reached the breach, he tried to visualize not just raw energy but actual substance, threads of light weaving together to mend the torn fabric of space. To his surprise, it worked better than he expected. The golden energy formed a lattice across the opening, gradually closing it from the edges inward. Within moments, the breach was sealed, the dimensional boundary restored to its previous state. Serenity looked genuinely impressed. Well done. You're learning faster than anticipated. Goku couldn't help grinning at the rare praise. Thanks. It feels different from regular key manipulation, but I'm starting to get the hang of it. Let's not get overconfident, she cautioned. That was a simple tear under controlled conditions. Umbra's breaches will be more complex and actively resistant to sealing. She gestured again, and this time the dimensional boundary tore open more violently. Through the breach, Goku caught glimpses of what lay beyond, not stars or planets, but a swirling darkness that seemed alive somehow, tendrils of shadow reaching hungrily toward the opening. This simulation mimics a void breach, Serenity explained, her voice tense. Notice how it actively fights against stability. This is what Umbra's influence looks like. Goku nodded, studying the writhing darkness beyond the tear. The breach itself seemed different too, the edges ragged and constantly shifting, making it difficult to focus on. How do I seal something that won't stay still? He asked. You must counter the void energy first, neutralize its corrupting influence, then seal the breach. She demonstrated, sending a beam of pure moonlight into the darkness. Where it touched, the shadows recoiled, temporarily pushed back. Solar energy should be even more effective against void corruption. Goku reached deep into his new powers, feeling for the purest expression of solar essence. This time, when he directed it toward the breach, he shaped it not as a repair material but as a cleansing force, light driving back darkness. The effect was immediate and dramatic. His golden energy blazed through the tear, causing the shadow tendrils to withdraw with what almost sounded like shrieks of pain. The edges of the breach stabilized momentarily, allowing him to begin the actual sealing process as he had before. But just as he thought he'd succeeded, something pushed back, a surge of darkness so intense it momentarily overwhelmed his light. The breach, nearly closed, suddenly expanded again. What's happening? He asked, struggling to maintain his control. Serenity stepped closer, her expression concerned. The simulation shouldn't be this resistant. Unless. Her eyes widened in sudden alarm. This isn't a simulation anymore. Something's hijacked the training breach, something from the void itself. As if confirming her fears, a deep, resonant voice echoed from beyond the tear, a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Solar God. Moon Princess, how convenient to find you together. The darkness beyond the breach coalesced into a vaguely humanoid shape with glowing purple eyes, the same eerie light Goku had seen in the shadow wraiths on Earth. Umbra, Serenity breathed, instinctively moving into a defensive stance beside Goku. The very same, the shadowy figure confirmed, its voice like gravel sliding over ice. How kind of you to open a doorway for me, however small. It saves me the effort of creating my own. You can't fully manifest through such a minor breach, Serenity said, though Goku noticed the slight tremor in her voice. This is merely a projection of your consciousness. For now, Umbra agreed. But it's enough for a proper introduction to the new solar god. The purple eyes fixed on Goku with unsettling intensity. How does it feel, mortal, to bear the essence of creation? Does it burn within you? Does it whisper of power beyond imagining? It feels like responsibility, Goku replied steadily. And right now, that responsibility includes sending you back where you came from. Umbra laughed, a sound like distant thunder. Brave words. But do you even understand what you become part of? The cosmic game played since time immemorial. The princess certainly hasn't told you everything, have you, Serenity? Serenity's expression hardened. Do not presume to know what I have or haven't shared, Void King. Oh, but I do know, Umbra purred. I know you've kept the prophecy from him, the full prophecy, not the sanitized version your council recites. About how sun and moon united might either save the cosmos, or destroy it entirely. Goku glanced at Serenity, whose face had gone pale. Is that true? Before she could answer, Umbra continued. Ask her about the eclipse child, solar god. Ask her why the lunar court truly fears your connection. Enough. Serenity thrust both hands forward, sending a massive surge of lunar energy into the breach. You spread lies and half-truths, Umbra. You always have. Do I? The shadow entity countered, barely affected by her attack. Then why not tell him yourself? Why not explain that your precious balance is merely stagnation in disguise? Goku, seeing Serenity's attack had little effect, joined his power to hers. Solar and lunar energies combined, creating a spiral of gold and silver light that pushed the shadowy figure back from the breach. Umbra's form began to dissipate, but his voice remained clear. Impressive. Together you might indeed be formidable. But remember this, Solar God, when the princess finally tells you the whole truth, come find me. I, at least, offer honesty about what awaits if you continue down this path. With those final words, the shadow entity vanished completely. The breach, no longer sustained by void energy, closed readily under their combined power. For several moments afterward, neither Goku nor Serenity spoke, both processing what had just occurred. Finally, Goku turned to her. What did he mean about the Eclipse Child? And the full prophecy? Serenity wouldn't meet his eyes. Umbra is the father of lies. His words are designed to sow discord and doubt. That doesn't answer my question, Goku persisted. Was he telling the truth about the prophecy having two possible outcomes? She hesitated, then sighed deeply. Yes. The complete prophecy speaks of sun and moon uniting to either save the cosmic order or destroy it entirely. The determining factor is something called the Eclipse Child, a being born of both solar and lunar essence. Born? You mean like the offspring of a solar god and lunar guardian, she confirmed, looking uncomfortable. According to the prophecy, such a child would either become the greatest guardian the cosmos has ever known, or its destroyer. That's why the lunar court is so worried about us working together, Goku realized. They're afraid we might, For the first time since meeting her, Goku saw Serenity blush, a faint silver tinge coloring her cheeks. Yes. The Council fears history repeating itself. They believe the safest course is to ensure solar and lunar guardians maintain appropriate distance from one another. But Umbra is active now, Goku pointed out. He's targeting both of us specifically. Doesn't that suggest we're stronger together than apart? Perhaps, she admitted reluctantly. But combining our powers for specific tasks is very different from the kind of connection that might fulfill the prophecy. An awkward silence fell between them. Goku wasn't used to feeling so uncomfortable, he typically charged forward in conversations as directly as he did in battle. But something about Serenity's obvious discomfort made him choose his next words more carefully. Look, I'm not trying to. I mean, we barely know each other. I'm just saying we shouldn't let fear of a prophecy keep us from working together to stop a real threat. Serenity's expression softened slightly. A reasonable perspective. And you're right, Umbra is the immediate danger. The prophecy has existed for millennia, it can wait a while longer. Before they could continue the discussion, a streak of silver light approached rapidly, another messenger, though not Celine this time. This one was a young man with features that seemed to shift like moonlight through leaves. Your Radiance, he called urgently. Void activity detected in the Earth realm. Shadow wraiths have breached the mortal world in multiple locations. Earth? Goku stepped forward, alarm written across his features. Where specifically? The messenger looked to Serenity for permission before answering. At her nod, he continued. Major population centers, what mortals call Tokyo, New York, and West City. West City. Goku's voice rose. That's where Bulma and the others are. The council is assembling to discuss our response, the messenger informed Serenity. They await your presence. Serenity nodded dismissively, and the messenger departed. She turned to Goku, her expression grave. This is Umbra's next move, targeting your world to draw us out. Then we have to go back, Goku said immediately. My friends, my family, they can handle a lot, but shadow wraiths are something else entirely. Agreed, Serenity surprised him by saying. This isn't just an attack on Earth, it's a challenge to both our authorities. If we ignore it, Umbra will only grow bolder. What about the council? Don't they need to discuss it with you first? A small, defiant smile touched Serenity's lips. I am the Moon Princess. While I value the Council's wisdom, in matters of immediate action, the decision is mine alone. She extended her hand toward him. Shall we remind Umbra why solar and lunar forces have always been respected, and feared? Goku grinned, taking her hand without hesitation. Let's show him what happens when he messes with our worlds. As their hands clasped, that same spark of energy passed between them, stronger this time, resonating through both their bodies. For a brief moment, their auras visibly merged, gold and silver swirling together in a display that would have sent the Lunar Council into fits of anxiety. Neither acknowledged it, but both felt it, a connection deeper than mere alliance, a harmony of complementary forces that felt as natural as breathing. Serenity closed her eyes, focusing on the dimensional coordinates of Earth. Hold tight to my energy signature. The journey between realms can be disorienting. I'm ready, Goku assured her, closing his eyes as well and focusing on the unique pattern of her lunar power. Around them, the celestial realm began to fade as reality thinned once more. This time, Goku was more aware of the process, the sensation of becoming pure energy, of traveling along pathways that existed between dimensions rather than within them. With Serenity guiding them, they slipped between the fabric of realities, heading directly toward Earth, and the shadow wraiths Umbra had sent to test their resolve. Little did they know that this confrontation would force them to push the boundaries of their separate powers further than either had intended, bringing them one step closer to the very prophecy the Lunar Court so feared. Chapter 2, Lunar Secrets. The journey between dimensions ended as abruptly as it began. One moment, Goku and Serenity were pure energy traveling through the cosmic pathways, the next, they stood in the center of West City, or what was left of it. The normally bustling metropolis had descended into chaos. People ran screaming through the streets as shadow wraiths swooped down from darkened skies. Unlike the few wraiths they'd encountered at Goku's home, these were everywhere, dozens, perhaps hundreds, pouring through what looked like tears in reality itself. There's so many, Goku said, instinctively dropping into a fighting stance as he scanned the devastation. Buildings had been damaged, vehicles overturned, and wherever the wraiths touched the ground, plants withered and concrete cracked as void energy corrupted matter itself. Serenity's eyes narrowed as she surveyed the scene. This is not a random attack. These are strategic breaches, perfectly placed to maximize panic and destruction. A woman's scream cut through the chaos from nearby. Without hesitation, Goku launched himself in that direction, solar energy flaring around his body. He found a young mother cornered in an alley, desperately shielding her child as three wraiths closed in. Hey! Goku shouted, golden light blazing from his hands. Pick on someone who can fight back. The wraiths turned toward him, their purple eyes gleaming with malevolence. They abandoned their intended victims and surged toward Goku, clearly recognizing the solar essence within him as a greater prize. Goku met them head-on, applying what he'd learned in training. Instead of overwhelming force, he projected focused beams of solar energy, targeting the core of each wraith with precision. One by one, they disintegrated with high-pitched wails. Get somewhere safe, he told the terrified woman. Underground if possible. These things don't like the dark. As the woman hurried away with her child, Goku felt a prickle of awareness. He spun just in time to see a massive shadow wraith, twice the size of the others, descending on him from above. Before he could react, a silver beam cut through it, dissolving the creature instantly. Serenity landed beside him, moonlight rippling around her form. They're targeting civilians to draw us out. We need a more efficient approach than fighting them individually. I'm open to suggestions, Goku replied, blasting another wraith that ventured too close. Serenity pointed to the sky, where the largest tear in reality pulsed with dark energy. The primary breach. If we seal it, the smaller ones should collapse as well. Goku nodded, understanding the strategy. Let's do it. He placed a hand on her shoulder and used his instant transmission technique, teleporting them both to the rooftop of the tallest nearby building. From this vantage point, they could see the full scope of the attack. Shadow wraiths poured through at least a dozen tiers in reality, but as Serenity had noted, one breach was significantly larger than the others, a swirling vortex of darkness hanging above Capsule Corporation headquarters. Bulma, Goku murmured, concern flashing across his face. We need to check if she's okay. The fastest way to help your friend is to close that breach, Serenity reminded him. Are you ready to attempt a major sealing? Goku took a deep breath, centering himself. I think so. Just like we practiced, right? But bigger. Much bigger, she confirmed. And against active resistance. But remember what you learned, solar creates, lunar shapes. They positioned themselves side by side, facing the massive tear in reality. Goku reached deep within himself, drawing on the solar essence with newfound control. Golden light enveloped him, radiating outward in waves that seemed to push back the very darkness. Beside him, Serenity glowed with silver light, her hands moving in graceful patterns as she prepared the lunar energy needed to shape and structure their combined power. Now, she commanded, thrusting both hands toward the breach. Goku followed her lead, directing his solar energy in a concentrated beam. Where their powers met, something remarkable happened. The gold and silver energies didn't simply combine but intertwined, forming a complex helix pattern that spiraled toward the void tear. The moment their combined power reached the breach, resistance struck back. Tendrils of pure darkness shot from within the void, attempting to corrupt and absorb their energy. The battle of wills was palpable, light against darkness, creation against unbeing. It's fighting back harder than I expected, Serenity said through gritted teeth, the strain evident in her voice. Goku pushed more power into their combined beam, but with careful control, not a burst of raw energy, but a steady increase in intensity. Together, he reminded her. We're stronger together. As if his words provided the spark needed, their energies suddenly synchronized perfectly. The gold-silver helix brightened to near blinding intensity, pushing into the breach with irresistible force. Where it touched the void energy, the darkness seemed to scream, a sound felt rather than heard, vibrating through reality itself. The edges of the tier began to knit together, cosmic fabric mending under their combined will. The shadow wraiths, sensing their portal closing, abandoned their attacks on civilians and rushed back toward the breach in a desperate attempt to escape. With a final surge of effort, Goku and Serenity closed the primary tear completely. The resulting shockwave of energy spread outward in a dome of golden-silver light, catching the smaller breaches and sealing them in rapid succession. Shadow wraiths caught in the wave disintegrated instantly, their essence returned to the void they came from. Those that had made it back through the breaches escaped, for now. As the last of the tiers closed, an eerie silence fell over West City. The constant screaming and sounds of destruction ceased, replaced by the distant wail of emergency vehicles and the shocked murmurs of survivors. Goku lowered his hands, breathing heavily from the exertion. Not physical tiredness, the solar essence constantly renewed his body's energy, but mental strain from the precision required to work with such volatile forces. We did it, he said, turning to Serenity with a grin. That was incredible. Did you see how our powers? He stopped short, noticing her expression. She wasn't celebrating their victory, instead, her moonstone eyes were fixed on something in the sky above them. Goku followed her gaze and saw it immediately, a spectacle unlike anything he'd witnessed before. Where their combined energies had spread out across the city, the sky had transformed. Golden and silver light danced in massive, swirling patterns, like the aurora borealis but 1,000 times more intense and complex. The light show extended as far as they could see, rippling in waves that seemed to respond to the lingering resonance between their powers. What is that? Goku asked, awestruck by the beauty of the phenomenon. The aurora convergence, Serenity whispered, her voice a mixture of wonder and concern. When solar and lunar energies harmonize perfectly, they create this. She gestured at the sky. It hasn't been seen for thousands of years. It's beautiful, Goku observed. And dangerous, Serenity added. Such visible manifestations of our combined power will draw attention, not just from Umbra, but from other cosmic entities who remember what happened the last time Sun and Moon aligned too closely. Before Goku could respond, a familiar voice called his name. He turned to see Bulma emerging from the stairwell onto the rooftop, disheveled but apparently unharmed. "Goku," she exclaimed, rushing toward him. "What just happened?" Those shadow things were everywhere, then this wave of gold and silver light swept through the city, and they all just vanished. "Bulma." Goku greeted her with obvious relief. "You're okay. Are Vegeta and Trunks alright too?" "They're fine. Vegeta was fighting those things all over the city, doing pretty well against them too, until your light show made them all disappear at once." She looked up at the aurora still dancing across the sky. "I'm guessing that's your doing." "Ours," Goku corrected, gesturing to Serenity, who had maintained a polite distance during their reunion. Bulma seemed to notice the Moon Princess for the first time. "Oh. You must be the, lunar deity Goku mentioned." Serenity, guardian of the lunar domain, she introduced herself formally. "Your technological monitoring of cosmic phenomena is impressive for a mortal scientist." Bulma blinked, clearly unsure if this was a compliment or criticism. "Thanks. I think. Look, what were those things? Are they gone for good?" "Shadow wraiths," Serenity explained. "Servants of a cosmic entity called Umbra. And no, they're not gone permanently, merely banished back to the void between dimensions." "They'll be back?" Bulma asked, alarmed. "Almost certainly," Serenity confirmed. "Today was merely a test, Umbra gauging our response capabilities and the effectiveness of our combined power." "Combined power," Bulma repeated, glancing between them. "Is that safe? I thought you told Goku that solar and lunar energies weren't supposed to mix." "They're not," Serenity said, looking uncomfortable. "But circumstances demand adaptation. The traditional separation between our domains isn't practical when facing a threat like Umbra." Bulma's scientific curiosity visibly engaged. "So what happens when your powers combine? Besides the pretty lights in the sky, I mean." "That's what we're figuring out," Goku answered before Serenity could. "But so far, it seems pretty effective against the void stuff." A sudden crackle of energy nearby interrupted their conversation. All three turned to see a small tear opening in reality, not a void breach, but something different. Through it stepped a figure Goku recognized, Elder Selene from the Lunar Council, accompanied by two guards in silver armor. "Your Radiance," Selene addressed Serenity, pointedly ignoring the others. "The Council has convened an emergency session. Your presence is required immediately." Serenity straightened, her regal bearing becoming more pronounced. "I left to address an immediate threat to the mortal realm. The results speak for themselves." She gestured to the newly secured city around them. "The results are precisely what concerns the Council," Elder Selene replied, her gaze finally flickering to the aurora overhead. The aurora convergence has not been seen since the days of Apollos and Diana. Its appearance now is troubling. "The aurora is a side effect of necessary action," Serenity stated firmly. "Would the Council prefer we had allowed Umbra's wraiths free reign in the mortal world?" Elder Selene's expression tightened. "Of course not. But there were options besides such a dramatic display of combined power. The archives speak of containment methods, which would have taken hours to implement," Serenity cut in. "Hours during which countless mortal lives would have been lost." Goku stepped forward. "The aurora thing wasn't intentional. We were just doing what worked to close the breaches quickly." Elder Selene regarded him coldly. "Solar God. The Council acknowledges your assistance in this matter. However, the long-term implications of today's events must be carefully considered. Both of you must return with me to the sanctuary immediately." Bulma, who had been watching this exchange with growing concern, spoke up. "Wait, you can't just take Goku away right now. What if those shadow things come back? The breaches are sealed for the moment, Elder Selene assured her. And we must ensure they remain so through proper protocols, not improvised methods that risk cosmic stability. Serenity exchanged a look with Goku that contained a clear message: this isn't a battle worth fighting right now. We'll return to address the Council's concerns, Serenity conceded. But I want it noted that I consider the protection of the mortal realm a priority equal to maintaining cosmic traditions. Elder Selene's eyebrows rose slightly at this near-heretical statement, but she simply bowed. Your position will be recorded, Your Radiance. Serenity turned to Bulma. Alert your world's defenders to remain vigilant. The shadow wraiths may return, though likely not immediately. Umbra needs time to gather strength between major incursions. How long do we have? Bulma asked. Days, perhaps. Possibly longer if our counterattack weakened him significantly. Serenity reached into a fold of her dress and withdrew a small silver disc. Take this. If the wraiths return before we do, activate it. It will alert me directly. Bulma accepted the disc with obvious curiosity. How does it work? Some kind of quantum entanglement? Something like that, Serenity replied vaguely. Simply press the center and speak your message. Goku placed a reassuring hand on Bulma's shoulder. Tell everyone I'll be back as soon as I can. And keep an eye on Chi-Chi for me, will you? Let her know I'm okay. I will, Bulma promised. But hurry back. I don't think Earth's ready for another shadow invasion without you too. Elder Selene had already opened a portal back to the celestial realm, a tear in reality that glowed with silver light rather than the darkness of the void breaches. The guard stepped through first, followed by the Elder herself. After you, Serenity gestured to Goku. With a final wave to Bulma, Goku stepped through the portal. The familiar sensation of dimensional travel enveloped him, the momentary disorientation, the feeling of becoming pure energy, then reforming on the other side. Serenity followed immediately after, and the portal sealed behind them, leaving the humans of West City to recover from an attack they barely understood, and to wonder at the aurora that continued to shimmer in the sky long after its creators had departed. The lunar sanctuary that greeted them was vastly different from the tranquil retreat Goku had left hours before. Dozens of lunar entities hurried through the crystal corridors, their faces tense with purpose. Guards stood at attention at every junction, their silver armor gleaming in the ambient moonlight. The Council has initiated crisis protocols, Serenity observed, her expression troubled as they followed Elder Selene through the bustling complex. Is that bad? Goku asked quietly. It means they believe the threat level justifies extraordinary measures, she replied. It hasn't happened since the Great Comic Crisis 3 centuries ago. They arrived at massive doors inscribed with lunar runes, the entrance to the council chamber. As the doors swung open, Goku saw a semicircular room with 13 thrones arranged in a tiered formation. Most were already occupied by figures of varying appearance, all bearing the lunar crescent symbol somewhere on their person. At the center, slightly elevated above the others, stood an empty throne of pure crystal that Goku assumed belonged to Serenity. The moment they entered, all conversation ceased. Every eye turned to them, or more specifically, to Goku. The Council of Tides is now in session, announced an official standing near the central throne. Her Radiance, Serenity, Guardian of the Lunar Domain, presides. Also present, Son Goku, current vessel of the solar essence. Serenity ascended to her throne with practiced grace, gesturing for Goku to stand at the center of the chamber. She gave him a reassuring nod before addressing the council. Esteemed members of the council. Today we witness the first major incursion of Umbra's forces into the mortal realm. Through combined effort, the Solar God and I successfully repelled this attack and sealed multiple void breaches. At what cost? Demanded one counselor, an elderly man whose skin seemed to shift between solid and vapor. The aurora convergence blazes in the mortal sky for the first time in millennia. Do you realize what this signifies? It signifies effective action against an existential threat, Serenity replied calmly. The aurora is merely a side effect of harmonic energy resonance. Merely a side effect, another counselor scoffed, a woman with features so delicate they appeared almost crystalline. The ancient texts are clear, the aurora convergence is the first sign of the prophecy's fulfillment. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Goku, uncomfortable with being the center of attention in such a formal setting, decided to speak up. "Excuse me," he said, his straightforward tone cutting through the political atmosphere. "I don't mean any disrespect, but maybe we should focus on Umbra right now. He sent hundreds of those shadow things to Earth. People could have died." The council fell silent, seemingly shocked that he would address them directly without being invited to speak. "The solar god raises a valid point," said a younger-looking counselor, his voice surprisingly supportive. "Prophecies and traditions matter little if Umbra consumes our domains entirely." "Thank you, Counselor Laren," Serenity acknowledged. "Which brings us to the purpose of this session, developing a coordinated response to Umbra's aggression." Elder Celine rose from her seat. "Before we proceed, the Council requires answers about the nature of your cooperation with the Solar God. The Aurora Convergence suggests a level of energy synchronization that far exceeds tactical necessity." Goku glanced at Serenity, curious how she would respond to this direct challenge. "The effectiveness of our combined power against void energy is undeniable," she stated. "If the Council is suggesting we should limit our defensive capabilities based on ancient prohibitions, I must respectfully disagree. No one questions the need for cooperation," Elder Celine clarified. "But there are degrees of combination. Traditional protocols would have you working in concert rather than in synchronization." "Traditional protocols were designed for traditional threats," Serenity countered. "Umbra is neither." The debate might have continued, but a commotion at the chamber entrance interrupted them. A lunar messenger burst in, her face pale with urgency. "Your Radiance. Counselors. Forgive the intrusion, but we've detected multiple new void disturbances." "On Earth again?" Serenity asked, rising from her throne. "No, Your Radiance. In the celestial realm itself. Specifically." The messenger hesitated. "The Archive of Ages." A collective gasp went through the council. Even Serenity looked genuinely alarmed for the first time since Goku had met her. "What's the Archive of Ages?" he whispered to the nearest counselor, the younger one who had supported his earlier comment. "The repository of all lunar knowledge and artifacts," Counselor Laren explained quietly. "Including items of immense power from previous cosmic cycles. If Umbra gains access." He didn't need to finish the thought. Goku understood immediately, this was a direct attack on the heart of lunar power, potentially giving Umbra access to weapons or knowledge that could tip the cosmic balance. "The archive is protected by ancient wards," one counselor protested. "No void entity should be able to penetrate its defenses. Unless they had help from within," Elder Celine said gravely, her eyes scanning the chamber as if searching for traitors. "We can discuss blame later," Serenity cut in. "For now, we must secure the archive immediately." She turned to Goku. "The archive contains artifacts of both solar and lunar origin. Your power may be necessary to counter whatever void corruption has already spread." "I'm ready," Goku said without hesitation. "The Council has not authorized," Elder Celine began, but Serenity interrupted. "As guardian of the lunar domain, I am invoking emergency authority. The archive's security overrides procedural concerns." Her tone left no room for argument. "Counselor Laren, Elder Celine, you will accompany us. The rest of the council will coordinate defenses throughout the sanctuary." Without waiting for further debate, Serenity descended from her throne and strode toward the exit, her bearing so commanding that even the most hesitant counselors fell silent. Goku followed, impressed by this display of leadership, so different from the formal, sometimes aloof princess he'd first encountered. "The archive is in the lowest level of the sanctuary," Counselor Laren explained as they hurried through corridors that sloped steadily downward. "The void breaches were detected in the ancient artifacts section, particularly concerning, as that area houses objects of tremendous power. Any idea what they might be after specifically? Goku asked. Impossible to say, Elder Selene replied. The archive contains thousands of items collected over millions of years. There is one possibility, Serenity said, her pace never slackening. The Eclipse Chalice. Both counselors stopped short, their expressions shocked. The chalice was sealed in the vault of forbidden knowledge, Elder Selene protested. Its very location is known only to the Moon Princess and the Chief Archivist. Which means if Umbra's forces are targeting it specifically, we have a serious breach of security, Serenity concluded grimly. Possibly even a traitor among the highest ranks of lunar authority. What's the Eclipse Chalice? Goku asked as they resumed their rapid descent. Serenity's expression was grim. A relic from the time of Apollos and Diana. It was used in their experiments with combining solar and lunar essences, a catalyst for what eventually became the Eclipse Force. And it's been kept here all this time? Goku was surprised. I would have thought something that dangerous would be destroyed. Some things cannot be destroyed without consequences worse than their existence, Elder Selene said cryptically. The chalice contains remnants of the original Eclipse Force. To destroy it would release that energy uncontrolled. They reached a massive silver door inscribed with more lunar runes than Goku had seen anywhere else in the sanctuary. The metal, if it was metal, seemed to flow like liquid while simultaneously remaining solid. Serenity placed her hand against the door, and the silver surface rippled at her touch. Lunar symbols lit up in sequence, responding to her essence. Be prepared for anything, she warned as the door began to open. If shadow wraiths have breached the archive, they've already overcome formidable defenses. The door swung open to reveal a vast chamber that seemed to extend endlessly in all directions, shelves and display cases containing objects of every description, all bathed in soft moonlight. But that light was currently fighting against encroaching darkness, tendrils of shadow creeping through the collections like living smoke. Too late, Elder Selene whispered. The corruption has already begun. As if summoned by her words, shadow wraiths materialized from the darkness, at least a dozen, their forms larger and more substantial than those they'd fought on Earth. These moved with clear purpose rather than chaotic aggression, searching methodically through the collections. They haven't reached the secured vaults yet, Counselor Laren observed, pointing to a sealed door at the far end of the chamber. We still have time to stop them. Goku, Serenity said quietly. We need to clear a path to that vault door. Are you ready? He nodded, solar energy already beginning to gather around his hands. Just like West City, but indoors. Got it. Counselors, reinforce the outer wards, Serenity instructed. Prevent any more wraiths from entering. As the counselors hurried to comply, Serenity and Goku advanced into the archive. The moment they entered fully, the shadow wraiths detected them, particularly Goku, whose solar essence seemed to draw their attention like moths to flame. They really don't like you, Serenity observed as several wraiths abandoned their search to charge directly at Goku. The feeling's mutual, Goku replied, meeting the attack head-on. This time, he was prepared for their insubstantial nature. Instead of physical attacks, he projected concentrated solar energy in precise beams, exactly as Serenity had taught him during their training. Each beam struck with surgical precision, dissolving the wraiths on contact. Beside him, Serenity moved with fluid grace, lunar energy flowing from her hands in silver arcs that cut through the shadows like scythes. Together, they carved a path through the chamber, pushing back the darkness with their complementary light. But something was wrong. Despite their effectiveness against individual wraiths, the void corruption continued to spread through the archive. Objects touched by the darkness began to transform, books crumbling to dust, artifacts tarnishing or cracking. The corruption is too widespread, Serenity realized. We need to purify the entire chamber at once, or we'll lose irreplaceable knowledge and artifacts. Like we did with the Aurora thing? Goku asked, blasting another wraith without taking his eyes off the advancing darkness. Similar, but with more precision, she confirmed. The items here are delicate, too much raw power could damage them as surely as the void corruption. They reached the center of the vast chamber, where a circular platform rose slightly from the floor. Ancient symbols inscribed around its edge suggested it held special significance. The harmonic nexus, Serenity explained quickly. Designed to channel and balance energies throughout the archive. We can use it to spread purifying light to every corner simultaneously. Goku took position beside her on the platform. Just tell me what to do. Focus your energy inward, then allow me to guide its distribution, Serenity instructed. Think of it as creating the raw material that I will then shape and direct. As they had before, Goku called forth the solar essence within him. But this time, instead of projecting it outward, he concentrated it into a swirling sphere of golden energy between his hands. Serenity did the same with her lunar power, creating a silver counterpart. When both spheres had stabilized, they slowly brought them together, not merging them completely, but allowing them to orbit each other in perfect balance, gold and silver in perpetual dance. The harmonic nexus beneath their feet began to glow in response, ancient mechanisms awakening after centuries of dormancy. The platform's symbols lit up one by one, creating a complex circuit of light that spread outward across the floor of the archive. Now, Serenity said softly, release. Together, they released their hold on the orbiting energies. The spheres expanded rapidly, transformed by the nexus into a wave of perfectly balanced light that spread in all directions. Where this light touched the void corruption, the darkness receded instantly, not destroyed but cleansed, purified back to its natural state. Shadow wraiths caught in the wave didn't simply disintegrate as before. Instead, they seemed to crystallize, transforming into harmless flakes of shadow that drifted to the ground like black snow. Within moments, the entire archive was purified, the encroaching void banished completely. The ancient tomes, artifacts, and relics glowed briefly with renewed vitality before settling back to their normal state. It worked, Goku said with satisfaction, looking around at the restored chamber. Yes, Serenity agreed. But this was merely a diversion. What do you mean? She pointed toward the sealed vault door they'd noticed earlier. It stood open now, darkness spilling from within like liquid shadow. While we were occupied with the wraiths and corruption out here, something entered the inner vault. Her face was grim. Exactly as they planned. They rushed toward the open vault, Elder Selene and Counselor Laren joining them as they reached the entrance. This is impossible, Elder Selene breathed, staring at the broken seals. The inner vault can only be opened with lunar authority of the highest level. Inside, they found more evidence of precision rather than random destruction. Display cases had been left untouched, except for one that lay shattered in the center of the room. Empty. The eclipse chalice, Serenity confirmed, examining the broken case. It's gone. But how? Counselor Laren asked. These vaults are protected by ancient wards keyed specifically to lunar essence. No void entity could breach them, even with corruption. They had help, Serenity said flatly. Someone with lunar authority granted them access. Her moonstone eyes scanned the vault, noting details invisible to the others. And recently, too. The energy signature is still fresh. A traitor among the lunar court, Elder Selene said, her voice hollow with disbelief. This hasn't happened since the days of Diana, Serenity finished for her. History repeats itself, it seems. Goku, who had been examining the room with his enhanced senses, noticed something the others had missed, a faint trail of void energy leading from the broken display case to a seemingly solid wall. There, he pointed. They escaped through there somehow. Serenity joined him, placing her hand against the wall. A hidden passage. One not on any official archive schematics. Her expression darkened. One that only the highest lunar authorities would know about. What does this mean? Goku asked, sensing the growing tension among the lunar representatives. It means, Serenity said grimly, that Umbra has allies within my own court, possibly even within the council itself. And now they have the Eclipse Chalice, an artifact capable of catalyzing the combination of solar and lunar essences. To what end? Counselor Laren wondered. Even with the chalice, they would need willing vessels of both essences to create the eclipse force. Or unwilling ones, Elder Selene suggested darkly. Perhaps that explains Umbra's specific targeting of both of you. Serenity's expression remained carefully neutral, but Goku sensed her growing concern. Whatever Umbra's plan, we must assume the theft of the chalice is only the first step. We should prepare for escalation, particularly on Earth, which seems to be his preferred battlefield. Agreed, Elder Selene nodded. But we must also root out the traitor within our midst. Until we do, no lunar facility is secure. I'll begin an investigation immediately, Serenity declared. But first, we need more information about what Umbra might do with the chalice. For that, we need to consult the Celestial Archives. The archives were sealed after the fall of Apollos and Diana, Elder Selene objected. No one has accessed them for millennia. Then it's time they were opened, Serenity replied firmly. Knowledge is our greatest weapon against Umbra, especially knowledge of his previous defeat. She turned to Goku. The Celestial Archives contain records of the Solar-Lunar War, the creation of the Eclipse Force, and Umbra's original banishment. If we're to understand his current strategy, those records are essential. Where are these archives? Goku asked. In neutral territory, the cosmic nexus where the domains of all celestial guardians intersect. A place I haven't visited in centuries. She looked troubled. A place where my authority as Moon Princess holds no special weight. Sounds interesting, Goku said with his typical enthusiasm for new experiences. When do we leave? Immediately, Serenity decided. Counselor Laren, I'm entrusting you with the investigation here. Elder Selene, coordinate with the other cosmic guardians, alert them to the theft and the potential for similar breaches in their domains. Both counselors bowed in acknowledgement, though Elder Selene looked like she wanted to object further to Serenity's plans. Your Radiance, she said finally. The cosmic nexus has its own politics, its own dangers. And traveling there with the solar god, after the Aurora convergence has already drawn attention. She left the implication hanging. I'm well aware of the risks, Serenity replied. But we cannot fight what we do not understand. Umbra's previous defeat left records we need. Without waiting for further discussion, Serenity headed for the exit, Goku following close behind. As they left the archive behind, he could feel the weight of Elder Selene's concerned gaze following them, and sensed that her concerns went beyond mere politics or tradition. So who exactly rules this cosmic nexus place? Goku asked as they traversed a crystalline pathway that seemed to be forming in front of them with each step, connecting the lunar sanctuary to some distant destination not yet visible. No one rules it, Serenity explained. The nexus is neutral ground, a meeting place where representatives of all cosmic domains can gather without any single authority holding sway. It's governed by consensus among the major celestial guardians. Sounds complicated. It is. Celestial politics make mortal governments look straightforward by comparison. A small smile touched her lips. Which is why I rarely attend gatherings there. The endless debates and maneuvering hold little appeal for me. But we're going anyway because of these archives. Yes. The Celestial Archives are the most complete repository of cosmic history in existence. Unlike my lunar archives, which focus primarily on lunar matters, the Celestial Archives contain records from all domains, including detailed accounts of the Solar-Lunar War and Umbra's first emergence. Goku was silent for a moment, processing this information. Then, with characteristic directness, Serenity, who do you think betrayed you? Who could have helped Umbra get the chalice? The question clearly caught her off guard. She stopped walking, her moonstone eyes meeting his directly. I don't know, she admitted, and Goku sensed this vulnerable honesty was rare for her. The list of those with access to the inner vault is very short: myself, Elder Selene, the chief archivist, and a handful of high-ranking lunar guardians. All have served faithfully for centuries. People change, Goku observed. Maybe Umbra offered something they wanted. Perhaps. She resumed walking, the crystal path continuing to form ahead of them. Umbra is a master of corruption, finding weaknesses to exploit. But to corrupt someone who has devoted centuries to lunar service, it's unprecedented. As they continued in silence, the path gradually widened, eventually opening onto a vast platform floating in the cosmic void. Before them stood a structure unlike any Goku had seen before, not a building in the conventional sense, but a complex geometric shape that seemed to exist in more dimensions than should be possible. Parts of it appeared transparent, others solid, while still others shifted between states in rhythmic patterns. The Cosmic Nexus, Serenity announced. Center of celestial diplomacy and knowledge. The platform around the structure bustled with activity. Beings of wildly varying appearance moved with purpose, some clearly humanoid, others completely alien in form. The only commonality was an aura of power that marked them all as more than mortal. Whoa, Goku breathed. There are so many different types of people. Cosmic entities, Serenity corrected. Representatives of various celestial bodies, elemental forces, and conceptual domains. Some are guardians like ourselves, others ambassadors or scholars. As they approached the entrance to the Nexus, Goku noticed many of these entities stopping to stare at them, or more specifically, at him. Whispers followed in their wake, and not all the looks were friendly. I'm guessing they don't see new solar gods very often, he commented under his breath. The emergence of a new major guardian is always noteworthy, Serenity confirmed quietly. But it's more than that. They're reacting to the fact that we've arrived together, and to the rumors of the Aurora convergence. News travels quickly between cosmic domains. Before they could reach the entrance, a group of 3 entities moved to intercept them, clearly intentionally blocking their path. The one in the center was tall and imposing, with skin that glowed like molten copper and eyes like distant galaxies. He wore armor that seemed to be made of stellar material, constantly shifting and burning. Princess Serenity, he addressed her with a formal bow that somehow managed to convey condescension rather than respect. This is an unexpected pleasure. You rarely grace the Nexus with your presence. Lord Solaris, Serenity returned the greeting with equal formality. I come on urgent business regarding Umbra's return. The copper-skinned entity turned his galaxy eyes to Goku. And this must be the mortal who has somehow claimed the solar essence. Fascinating. His tone suggested he found it anything but a most unconventional choice for such power. Goku met the being's gaze without flinching. Name's Goku. And you are? This is Lord Solaris, Guardian of Proxima Centauri, Serenity introduced him. One of the Solar Council's senior members. Solar Council. Goku raised an eyebrow. The governing body for solar guardians throughout this galaxy, Solaris explained, his tone making it clear he considered Goku's ignorance embarrassing. A council you have conspicuously failed to present yourself to, despite claiming solar authority. Been kinda busy, Goku replied easily. What with Umbra sending shadow wraiths to attack my planet and all? Solaris's expression tightened. Yes, we've heard about these incidents. And about how you've chosen to address them, with unprecedented levels of solar-lunar energy synchronization. One of Solaris's companions, a being composed entirely of what appeared to be living flame, spoke up. The Aurora convergence was visible across multiple dimensions. The Solar Council has concerns about such flagrant disregard for traditional separation. As I explained to my own council, Serenity replied coolly, extraordinary threats require extraordinary measures. Umbra's shadow wraiths are not conventional enemies. Indeed, Solaris agreed. Which is why proper protocols exist for addressing such threats, protocols that don't involve risking cosmic stability with experimental power combinations. Goku, tiring of the political dance, stepped forward. "Look, we don't have time for this. Umbra just stole something called the Eclipse Chalice from the Lunar Archives. We need information from the Celestial Archives to figure out what he's planning." This revelation caused visible shock among the solar representatives. Solaris's glowing skin actually dimmed momentarily. "The Eclipse Chalice has been stolen," he demanded, all pretense of political maneuvering abandoned. "When? How?" "Hours ago," Serenity confirmed. "Through internal betrayal within the lunar court. Which is why we seek the historical records of Umbra's previous activities, particularly his interest in solar-lunar convergence." Solaris exchanged troubled glances with his companions. "This changes matters. The chalice is one of the few artifacts capable of forcing a convergence even against the will of the essences involved." He turned back to them, his manner now all business. "The Solar Council will want a full briefing on this development. And they shall have it," Serenity assured him. "After we've consulted the archives. Time is of the essence." After a moment's consideration, Solaris nodded. "Very well. I'll escort you to the archives myself." He gestured to his companions. "Inform the council of this development. Request an emergency session for when the princess and the new solar god have completed their research." As his companions departed, Solaris led Goku and Serenity into the Nexus. The interior was even more disorienting than the exterior. Corridors that seemed to curve in impossible ways, chambers that appeared larger inside than geometry should allow, and everywhere, entities of cosmic power engaged in activities Goku couldn't begin to understand. "This place is wild," he commented, trying to take it all in without getting distracted. "Do all these different, people get along?" Solaris gave a sound that might have been a chuckle. "Cosmic politics make your mortal conflicts look like children's squabbles. We cooperate because we must, but each domain guards its interests carefully." "Including yours?" Goku asked directly. The Solar Guardian gave him a measuring look. "The Solar Council has maintained order among Star Guardians for billions of years. We take that responsibility seriously, which is why the emergence of an unaligned solar god is concerning." "Unaligned?" Goku questioned. "Lord Solaris refers to your lack of formal affiliation with the Solar Council," Serenity explained. "Traditionally, all Solar Guardians acknowledge the Council's authority and follow its protocols." "Sounds restrictive," Goku observed. "Structure prevents chaos," Solaris replied stiffly. "Something you would understand if you had proper training in cosmic governance. Rather than, whatever the Moon Princess has been teaching you." Before this could develop into a more heated exchange, they arrived at what appeared to be a dead end. The wall before them was blank, lacking any visible door or entrance. "The archives lie beyond," Solaris explained, placing his hand against the seemingly solid surface. "They require the essence of a recognized cosmic guardian to grant access." The wall rippled at his touch, copper-colored energy spreading from his palm in intricate patterns. After a moment, an archway appeared, opening onto a vast chamber filled with what looked like living light organized into countless strands and clusters. "The recorded knowledge of the cosmos," Serenity said softly. "Every major event, every significant being, every cosmic law, all preserved here in its purest form." Goku stared in amazement. "These aren't books or scrolls. Knowledge in its raw state doesn't require physical media," Solaris explained, his tone somewhat less condescending than before. "The archives preserve the actual energy signatures of events and beings, allowing for perfect recall and examination." He led them deeper into the chamber, navigating through clusters of light that rearranged themselves as they passed. "What specifically do you seek regarding Umbra?" "His first emergence during the Solar-Lunar War," Serenity replied. "Particularly his interest in the Eclipse Force and how he was eventually banished." Solaris nodded, approaching a section where the light strands glowed in alternating gold and silver patterns. "The records of the Apollos-Diana conflict are sealed under special protocols. They require dual authorization, both solar and lunar, to access." He placed his hand against a floating sphere of light, causing it to pulse with copper energy. I provide solar authority. Serenity stepped forward, placing her hand beside his. The sphere responded, silver light joining the copper in complex patterns. And I provide lunar authority, she stated formally. The sphere expanded suddenly, engulfing all three of them in a bubble of light. Within this space, images began to form around them, not like watching a recording, but like being present within the events themselves. Goku found himself standing on what appeared to be a celestial battlefield. Solar and lunar entities clashed with spectacular displays of power, while in the distance, two figures radiated energy so intense it distorted the very fabric of reality around them. Apollos and Diana, Serenity narrated quietly. At the height of the solar-lunar war. The two figures, a man glowing with golden light and a woman surrounded by silver radiance, stood back-to-back against a horde of attacking entities. Despite being outnumbered, they moved in perfect synchronization, their powers complementing each other with devastating effectiveness. They were formidable even before creating the eclipse force, Solaris observed. The most powerful solar and lunar guardians of their age. The scene shifted, showing the same two figures in a moment of peace rather than battle. They stood within a chamber that resembled a temple, facing a pedestal on which rested a chalice of strange, iridescent material. The eclipse chalice, Serenity confirmed. Forged from materials found at the boundary between dimensions, capable of containing and catalyzing both solar and lunar essences simultaneously. They watched as Apollos and Diana each poured a portion of their essence into the chalice, golden light from his hands, silver from hers. The energies swirled together within the vessel, creating a new substance that was neither gold nor silver but a perfect fusion of both. The first creation of the eclipse force, Solaris narrated. A power neither solar nor lunar, but transcendent of both. The scene shifted again, showing Apollos and Diana using this new power to reshape cosmic reality, moving stars, accelerating planetary formation, even altering the flow of time within specific regions of space. They believed they were improving upon the natural order, Serenity explained. Creating a more perfect cosmos through their combined will. Some of what they did was genuinely beneficial, Solaris admitted reluctantly. Stabilizing dying stars, redirecting extinction-level meteors from inhabited worlds. But their power grew with each use of the eclipse force, as did their ambition. The next scene showed conflict, Apollos and Diana facing opposition from other cosmic guardians, including figures that radiated energies similar to Solaris and the current Lunar Council. The cosmic conclave demanded they cease their experiments, Serenity narrated. But by then, they believed themselves beyond the authority of traditional cosmic governance. Their defiance led to war, Solaris continued. The first true cosmic war, not just a conflict between solar and lunar forces, but one that drew in guardians of all domains. The images showed battle on a scale Goku could barely comprehend, entire star systems serving as battlefields, forces of creation wielded as weapons of destruction. Through it all, Apollos and Diana fought as one, their eclipse force growing more powerful with each confrontation. But then the scene darkened literally, a shadow spreading across the battlefield that consumed light from all sources. Within this growing darkness, a figure took shape, vaguely humanoid but constantly shifting, with eyes that glowed with that same purple light Goku had seen in the shadow wraiths. Umbra, Goku recognized immediately. His first emergence into our reality, Serenity confirmed. The chaos of cosmic war created weaknesses in the dimensional barriers, opportunities he exploited. They watched as Umbra's shadow spread, consuming lesser beings entirely and weakening even major cosmic guardians. Only Apollos and Diana, protected by their eclipse force, seemed immune to his draining power. They recognized the threat immediately, Solaris narrated. Whatever their flaws, they understood that Umbra represented a danger to all existence, not merely to cosmic governance. The scene shifted to show Apollos and Diana in urgent conference with the same cosmic authorities they had previously defied. Ancient symbols and diagrams hung in the space between them, plans for some kind of containment or banishment. They proposed using the eclipse force to create a permanent dimensional seal, Serenity explained. One that would banish Umbra back to the void between universes and prevent his return. The cosmic conclave agreed, Solaris continued, but with conditions. After Umbra's defeat, Apollos and Diana would separate their essences permanently, ending the eclipse force experiment. Did they agree? Goku asked, fascinated by this cosmic history. Lesson. They did, Serenity confirmed. At least officially. The next scene showed the final confrontation with Umbra, Apollos and Diana standing within an immense ritual circle, the eclipse chalice between them glowing with power as they prepared to execute their plan. Cosmic guardians of all domains surrounded them, lending their energies to strengthen the dimensional seal. But something went wrong. As Apollos and Diana channeled the eclipse force into the banishment ritual, Umbra lashed out with tendrils of void energy that struck the chalice directly. The vessel cracked, not breaking completely, but developing fissures that destabilized the power within. The critical moment, Solaris said grimly. When pride led to catastrophe. The images showed Apollos and Diana struggling to maintain control as the eclipse force began to collapse in upon itself. Rather than admitting they were losing control and allowing the other guardians to help, they attempted to contain the destabilization themselves, pouring more of their own essences into the failing chalice. A cascading failure, Serenity narrated. The more power they added, the more unstable it became. The scene reached its devastating conclusion, the eclipse force imploding with cataclysmic force, creating a singularity that began to consume everything nearby. Umbra was caught in the collapse, his shadowy form torn apart and sucked into the forming black hole. But so were Apollos and Diana. In their final moments, they managed one last act, combining their remaining power to push other cosmic guardians to safety, saving them from the catastrophe even as they themselves were consumed by it. Their final redemption, Solaris said quietly. Though it came too late for countless worlds caught in the black hole's formation. The images faded, leaving Goku, Serenity, and Solaris standing once again in the archive chamber. The sphere of light that had contained the historical record shrank back to its original size, pulsing gently as if exhausted by the effort of sharing so much information. So that's how it happened, Goku said thoughtfully. Umbra was defeated, but at a terrible cost. And now he returns, Serenity added. With the eclipse chalice in his possession. The implications are disturbing, Solaris acknowledged. Umbra clearly intends to recreate the conditions that led to his previous defeat, but this time, to control the outcome. He needs solar and lunar essences, Goku realized. That's why he's been targeting us specifically. Yes, Serenity agreed. But with a crucial difference from before. Apollos and Diana willingly combined their essences through the chalice. From what we've seen of the repaired artifact, Umbra may be able to force a combination even against our will. A forced convergence would be even more unstable than the original eclipse force, Solaris warned. The potential for catastrophe exceeds even the black hole creation. So we need to get the chalice back before he can use it, Goku concluded, always focused on the practical next steps. Any ideas where he might be keeping it? Serenity and Solaris exchanged glances, a rare moment of agreement between lunar and solar representatives. The Void Nexus, they said almost simultaneously. The what now? Goku asked. Umbra's domain, Serenity explained. A region between dimensions where void energy is strongest. No cosmic guardian has entered it since the original banishment. Because it's a one-way trip, Solaris added grimly. Void energy corrupts and consumes other forms of cosmic power. Even major guardians like ourselves would be weakened the moment we entered. But Umbra can leave it to attack our domains, Goku pointed out. So it can't be completely sealed off. He creates temporary breaches, Serenity clarified. Like the ones you helped me seal on Earth and in the archive. But finding the Void Nexus itself, his actual domain rather than just breach points, would be nearly impossible without. She trailed off, her expression changing as a realization struck her. Without what? Goku prompted. Without the Aurora convergence, she finished quietly. The combined resonance of solar and lunar energies creates a unique signature that can penetrate dimensional barriers Umbra uses to hide his domain. So our light show in the sky might actually help us find him? Goku asked. Potentially, Serenity nodded. Though I doubt he would have revealed himself so easily had he not already secured the chalice. He's setting a trap, counting on us to come to him. Sometimes the best approach is to spring the trap deliberately, Goku suggested. Knowing it's there gives us an advantage. Solaris looked at him with what might have been newfound respect. A surprisingly strategic perspective from a being so new to cosmic power. I've fought a lot of battles, Goku shrugged. Sometimes the direct approach works best, even when your opponent expects it. Before we consider any direct confrontation, Serenity cautioned, we need to understand exactly how the repaired chalice functions. The original required willing participation from both solar and lunar essences. If Umbra has modified it to force convergence, we need to know what defenses might counter such an attempt. The technical schematics of the chalice should be recorded here as well, Solaris suggested, turning back to the archives. Though accessing them may require higher clearance than even I possess. Before they could pursue this line of research, a disturbance rippled through the archive chamber. The strands of living knowledge shimmered and pulsed, reacting to some external event. Moments later, a messenger appeared at the entrance, one of Solaris's solar guards, his copper armor now dented and his energy visibly depleted. Lord Solaris, he called urgently. The Nexus is under attack. Void breaches have opened simultaneously in multiple sections. Umbra grows bold indeed, Solaris growled, his galaxy eyes flaring with anger. To attack the cosmic nexus itself. It's another diversion, Serenity realized immediately. Like the archive attack, meant to occupy us while he pursues his true objective. Or to trap us here, Goku suggested. Concentrated attack while we're all in one place. The messenger's next words confirmed Goku's suspicion. The breaches are largest around the archive entrance, my lord. Shadow entities are specifically targeting pathways in and out of this chamber. We're being contained, Solaris concluded grimly. But why? What could Umbra want in the archives that requires isolating us specifically? Serenity's eyes widened in sudden understanding. Not what, who? The lunar traitor. They could be using the attack as cover to access restricted records, possibly searching for more artifacts like the chalice. We need to get out there, Goku stated, already moving toward the entrance. Break whatever containment they're setting up and find this traitor. Agreed, Solaris nodded. But the archives must be protected as well. If Umbra's agents breach this chamber, I'll handle the archives, came a new voice from behind them. All three turned to see a figure they hadn't noticed before, a being composed of what appeared to be living crystal, his transparent form reflecting light in rainbow patterns. Despite having no recognizable facial features, he somehow conveyed ancient wisdom and authority. Kronos, Serenity acknowledged with a respectful bow. Guardian of temporal knowledge. I've been observing your research, the crystalline being stated. Disturbing patterns repeat themselves. Go. Address the immediate threat. I will ensure no unauthorized entities access the historical records. With this unexpected ally securing the archives, Goku, Serenity, and Solaris rushed toward the entrance. As they approached, they could hear the sounds of conflict beyond, energy discharges, shouts of warning and command, the distinctive hissing of shadow wraiths. Ready yourselves, Solaris warned as they reached the archway. If Umbra has committed significant forces to this attack, we face far more than standard wraiths. He was right. The scene that greeted them as they exited the archives was one of chaos and calculated violence. Shadow entities of various forms, not just the wraith-like beings they'd encountered before, but larger, more substantial creatures, engaged cosmic guardians throughout the Nexus. Void energy corrupted the very structure of the dimensional meeting place, causing sections to destabilize and collapse. The Solar Council, Solaris said urgently. I must coordinate our defense. Can you two handle breaking the containment around the archives? Go, Serenity told him. We'll secure this area and then join the main defense. As Solaris departed, merging into the battle with a flare of copper energy, Goku and Serenity faced the immediate threat, a ring of shadow entities surrounding the archive entrance, clearly positioned to prevent anyone from entering or exiting. Just like old times, Goku quipped, dropping into a fighting stance. Though old times was yesterday for us. Focus on breaking their formation, Serenity instructed. I sense void anchors, devices sustaining their presence against the Nexus's natural defenses. If we can destroy those, this entire attack force will weaken significantly. Goku extended his senses, feeling for the unnatural concentrations of void energy Serenity described. I feel them. 4 points, forming a containment square. Precisely. You take the two on the left, I'll handle the right. Without further discussion, they launched their attack. Goku moved with the speed and precision that had made him legendary even before absorbing the solar essence, weaving through shadow entities with practiced ease. Where direct contact was unavoidable, he surrounded himself with a thin layer of solar energy, just enough to prevent void corruption without draining his reserves unnecessarily. He reached the first anchor point, a pulsing orb of darkness suspended in midair, protected by a cluster of shadow guardians. These weren't mindless wraiths but tactical fighters, coordinating their defense with obvious intelligence. Sorry guys, Goku said, gathering solar energy between his palms. But you're in my way. He released a concentrated beam of golden light directly at the void anchor. The shadow guardians moved to intercept it, sacrificing themselves in an attempt to absorb the attack. But Goku had anticipated this, curving his beam at the last moment to bypass their defense entirely. The solar energy struck the anchor dead center, causing it to destabilize immediately. The explosion of void energy that followed caught several shadow entities in its radius, corrupting them from within and causing them to collapse into formless darkness. The others retreated, regrouping to protect the second anchor. Across the chamber, Serenity was having similar success. Her lunar energy cut through shadow defenses with surgical precision, her movements graceful yet lethal. One anchor was already destroyed, the second nearly exposed. Goku pressed his advantage, charging directly at the weakened defensive line. The shadow entities attempted to surround him, but he'd been fighting against superior numbers his entire life. He weaved through their formation, solar energy flaring from his hands to dispel any that came too close. Reaching the second anchor, he didn't bother with energy attacks this time. Instead, he simply grabbed the dark orb with his bare hands, allowing the solar essence to flow directly into it. The void construct shuddered, unable to withstand direct contact with its natural opposite, then imploded with a sound like reality itself tearing. Meanwhile, Serenity had destroyed her second target as well. The effect was immediate and dramatic, the remaining shadow entities lost cohesion, their forms wavering as the power sustaining them weakened. Many dissipated entirely, while others retreated through small void breaches that began closing without the anchors to maintain them. That worked, Goku observed, returning to Serenity's side. But it was too easy. I agree, she said, her expression troubled. This attack lacks Umbra's usual subtlety. It's almost as if he wanted the archives defended but not truly protected, came a voice from behind them. They turned to find a lunar guardian they recognized, Selene, the messenger who had first greeted Goku at the sanctuary. But something was wrong. Her silver armor was tarnished with streaks of darkness, and her eyes glowed with an unnatural purple light. Selene? Serenity asked, though her tone suggested she already knew this wasn't truly her messenger anymore. What have you done? Served a new master, Selene replied, her voice overlaid with a deeper, resonant tone that reminded Goku of Umbra himself. One who offers freedom from the stagnation of cosmic tradition. You're the traitor, Goku realized. You helped steal the Eclipse Chalice. Selene smiled, the expression unnatural on her usually formal face. The chalice was just the beginning. The true prize was always here, the complete schematics for the eclipse ritual. The knowledge to perfect what Apollos and Diana began. Whatever Umbra promised you, it's a lie, Serenity said, taking a step toward her corrupted servant. He seeks only to consume all forms of cosmic energy, not to elevate or transform them. You cling to old fears, Selene replied dismissively. The void is not destruction but potential, a canvas upon which a new reality can be written. Umbra understands this. Soon, you will too. Without warning, she thrust her hands forward. But instead of an attack, she released a pulse of energy that expanded in a dome around her, a barrier of some kind, but one that seemed to distort space within its boundaries. What is she doing? Goku asked, sensing the dangerous buildup of void energy within the dome. Creating a dimensional fold, Serenity replied urgently. A localized collapse that will allow her to escape with whatever she's stolen from the archives. We need to disrupt it before it stabilizes. They both directed their energies at the barrier, but their attack simply slid off its surface, deflected by properties Goku didn't understand. Inside, Selene held what appeared to be a crystalline cube filled with swirling light, clearly something taken from the archive's restricted section. Too late, Selene taunted as the barrier began to shrink, collapsing inward. The prophecy of convergence will be fulfilled, but not as your council fears. The eclipse child comes, whether you will it or not. With those cryptic words, the barrier imploded completely, taking Selene and her stolen knowledge with it. Where she had stood, only a fading ripple in reality remained, the after-effect of dimensional displacement. She's gone. Goku said unnecessarily. Back to Umbra, I'm guessing. Yes, Serenity confirmed, her voice tight with anger and something else, perhaps hurt at the betrayal of one she had trusted. And she's taken the complete specifications for the original eclipse ritual. With that and the chalice. Umbra can recreate the conditions that nearly destroyed the cosmos last time, Goku finished for her. Except this time, he'll be controlling the process instead of being caught in it. Around them, the battle was winding down. Without the void anchor sustaining them, the remaining shadow entities were being systematically eliminated by the combined forces of the cosmic guardians. Solaris approached, his copper armor scorched but his power apparently undiminished. The attack is contained, he reported. But several of our number report thefts from various archive sections. This was a coordinated infiltration disguised as a frontal assault. We know, Serenity said grimly. Selene, one of my lunar court, was the traitor, or at least one of them. She's taken the eclipse ritual schematics. Solaris's galaxy eyes widened. Then we have less time than we thought. With both the chalice and the ritual specifications, Umbra could force a convergence within days rather than weeks. We need to find the void nexus, Goku stated firmly. Take the fight to him before he's ready. Agreed, Serenity nodded. And I believe I know how. The Aurora convergence we created over Earth, it established a resonance pattern that we can follow back to its point of greatest reaction. Which would be wherever Umbra is keeping the chalice, Solaris realized. Since it would respond most strongly to the combined solar-lunar energy signature. Exactly, Serenity confirmed. But tracking that resonance will require creating another, similar convergence, deliberately this time, and focus specifically on location rather than power. Solaris looked uncomfortable. The Solar Council will have serious reservations about sanctioning another Aurora convergence so soon after the first. The cosmic disruption could what? Goku interrupted. Be worse than letting Umbra force a convergence his way. Sometimes you have to take risks to prevent bigger ones. The Solar Guardian studied him for a long moment, then nodded reluctantly. Perhaps there is wisdom in your directness, new Solar God. Very well. The Solar Council will not interfere with your attempt to track Umbra through resonance patterns. Thank you, Serenity said formally. We should return to Earth immediately. The resonance will be strongest there, where the original Aurora manifested. Before you go, Solaris said, his tone suddenly less formal, there is something you should know, something not recorded in the official histories we viewed. Both Goku and Serenity looked at him with surprise. Solaris glanced around, ensuring they weren't overheard, then continued in a lowered voice. The eclipse force created by Apollos and Diana was unstable, yes. But not inherently flawed as the official record states. What caused the catastrophic collapse was Umbra's direct interference, his attempt to corrupt and absorb the eclipse force at the moment of its greatest potential. Why isn't this in the records? Serenity asked, clearly shocked by this revelation. Because acknowledging it would mean admitting that solar-lunar convergence itself wasn't the problem, Solaris explained. After the disaster, it was simpler for both solar and lunar authorities to prohibit all convergence experiments rather than risk another attempt that might be similarly sabotaged. So the traditional separation between our domains, Serenity began, is based partially on valid caution, but also on institutional fear and political convenience, Solaris finished for her. I tell you this not to encourage recklessness, but because you deserve to know the full truth before facing Umbra again. Goku absorbed this information thoughtfully. So if we're careful and prepared for Umbra's interference, combining our powers might not be as dangerous as everyone thinks. Theoretically, Solaris acknowledged. Though I would strongly advise against testing that theory unless absolutely necessary. He stepped back, his formal manner returning. I must report to the full Solar Council now. Good fortune in your hunt for the Void Nexus. As Solaris departed, Goku turned to Serenity, expecting to see her processing this revelation with her usual thoughtful reserve. Instead, he found her looking troubled in a more personal way. Selene's betrayal hit you hard, he observed quietly. Serenity met his gaze, a rare vulnerability visible in her moonstone eyes. She was more than just a messenger. I've known her for centuries, watched her grow from a newly ascended lunar acolyte to a trusted member of my court. To see her corrupted so completely, it makes you question who else might be compromised, Goku realized. Including your council. Yes. She sighed, a surprisingly human gesture from the usually composed princess. Cosmic governance is built on trust accumulated over millennia. If that foundation is corrupted, then we trust ourselves first, Goku said simply. And each other. Everything else we figure out as we go. The straightforward statement seemed to center her. She nodded, her royal bearing returning. You're right. We have a clear next step, return to Earth and trace the Aurora resonance to find Umbra's domain. And then we get the chalice back, Goku added with determination. Before he can use it to force some kind of cosmic meltdown. As they prepared to depart the cosmic nexus, navigating through the aftermath of battle, neither noticed the subtle shadow that detached itself from a darkened corner and slipped away through a hairline crack. In reality, another of Umbra's agents, having observed their entire conversation and planning. The trap was being set on both sides. The question remained, who would spring it first? Their return to Earth was less ceremonial than their departure. Rather than opening a formal dimensional pathway, Serenity created a simple lunar portal directly from the Nexus to Goku's chosen destination, Capsule Corporation headquarters, where Bulma and the other Z fighters would likely be gathered. They emerged on the main lawn, startling a group of scientists who were taking readings of the still visible aurora in the sky above. The golden and silver lights had dimmed somewhat but continued to dance across the heavens, a constant reminder of their combined power. Goku, came an excited shout. Bulma ran from the main building, followed closely by Vegeta, Gohan, and several other familiar faces. You're back. And just in time, those shadow things are starting to reappear around the world. Already? Serenity frowned. That's faster than I anticipated. Umbra's power grows quickly. We've been tracking them, Bulma explained, leading them inside to her main laboratory. After the first attack, I recalibrated our satellite network to detect the specific energy signature of those void breaches. They're smaller than before, but more numerous, appearing in remote locations rather than population centers. She brought up a global map on the main screen, showing dozens of small red dots scattered across all continents. Each dot is a confirmed breach site. They seem random at first, but when we analyze the pattern. Bulma typed a command, and the computer overlaid a geometric shape connecting the points. The result was a complex but clearly deliberate pattern, concentric circles with symbolic-looking formations at key intersections. It's a ritual array, Serenity realized immediately. Umbra is establishing anchor points for something much larger than individual breaches. A planet-wide void network, Vegeta contributed, stepping forward with his arms crossed. Similar to what the Namekians once used for their dragon ritual, but inverted, designed to channel energy outward from the planet rather than draw it in. Goku looked at his rival with surprise. How do you know that? Vegeta scoffed. Unlike you, I actually studied the cosmic lore of multiple worlds during my travels. This pattern is ancient but recognizable, a power extraction matrix. He's right, Serenity confirmed. This is the first stage of the eclipse ritual, establishing collection points to gather and focus energy toward a central convergence location. Which means Earth is the target, Gohan concluded, adjusting his glasses as he studied the pattern. But why Earth specifically? It's not particularly significant in cosmic terms, is it? Serenity and Goku exchanged glances. It is now, she explained. The Aurora convergence manifested here first. That creates a resonance pattern that makes this planet the ideal conduit for the ritual Umbra is attempting. So we're ground zero for some cosmic catastrophe because you two did your gold and silver light show? Vegeta asked bluntly. Wonderful. We didn't have much choice at the time, Goku defended. Those shadow wraiths were everywhere. And now we need to create another convergence, Serenity added. A controlled one that will allow us to track the resonance back to Umbra's domain. This announcement was met with concerned looks from everyone present. Bulma was the first to speak up. Another light show like that could have serious consequences for Earth's systems, she warned. The electromagnetic disruption from the first one knocked out power grids across 3 continents. Weather patterns are still destabilized. We'll be more focused this time, Goku assured her. Precise rather than powerful. Besides, Serenity added, the alternative is allowing Umbra to complete his ritual. If that happens, he won't just disrupt Earth's systems, he'll drain the planet of all life energy to fuel his forced convergence. That sobered everyone. Bulma sighed, turning back to her computers. All right. If you're going to do this, let's at least be smart about it. I can set up monitoring stations to track the resonance patterns in real time. That should help you pinpoint the feedback location more accurately. Thank you, Serenity said with genuine appreciation. Your technological assistance has proven invaluable despite the cosmic nature of this conflict. While Bulma began preparing her equipment, Gohan pulled Goku aside. Dad, are you sure about this? Combining your powers with hers again? After what happened last time? It's our best shot, Gohan, Goku replied. And we learned something important at the cosmic nexus, the danger might not be in the combination itself, but in Umbra's interference with it. Still sounds risky, his son persisted. And you've only had your solar powers for what, a few days? You're still learning how they work. Goku placed a reassuring hand on Gohan's shoulder. I know it seems fast. But sometimes you have to trust your instincts. And right now, mine are saying this is the right path. Gohan studied his father's face, the golden eyes, the metallic hair, the subtle glow that seemed to emanate from within. Despite these dramatic changes, the determination and integrity that had always defined Son Goku remained unmistakable. Alright, Gohan conceded. But we'll all be standing by in case anything goes wrong. I'd expect nothing less, Goku grinned. Across the room, Serenity was having a similar conversation with Vegeta, who seemed to be questioning her methods with his usual bluntness. Your cosmic traditions didn't prevent Umbra's return, the Scion Prince was saying. Perhaps they're not as wise as you believe. Rather than taking offense, Serenity appeared to be considering his words carefully. Perhaps you're right. 8 centuries of following the same protocols can create blind spots. It takes an outsider's perspective sometimes to see past them. Humph. At least you're not as stubborn as most deities I've encountered, Vegeta acknowledged, which from him was high praise indeed. Bulma's voice interrupted these conversations. I'm ready whenever you are. I've set up sensors at key points around the globe to track the resonance patterns. Whatever you're going to do, I can monitor its effects in real time. Goku and Serenity moved to the center of the laboratory, where Bulma had cleared a space for them. The others stepped back, giving them room while remaining close enough to observe. How exactly do we make this more focused than last time? Goku asked quietly. Intent matters, Serenity explained. Before, we were reacting to an immediate threat, pouring power outward with little control. This time, we'll shape our energies specifically to seek resonance with the chalice. The chalice will respond to our combined energy? Yes. Artifacts of that level retain connections to the essences that created them. The original chalice was designed to resonate with both solar and lunar energies, to call to them, in a sense. Even in its corrupted state, it should react to our power, creating a feedback loop we can trace. Goku nodded his understanding. So we create a smaller, more controlled aurora, focused on finding rather than fighting. Precisely. Serenity positioned herself facing him, about an arm's length away. We'll begin with individual manifestation, then bring our energies together gradually, not the sudden combination we used against the wraiths. Taking a deep breath, Goku centered himself, reaching for the solar essence within. After days of training with Serenity, the process felt more natural now, less like forcing a new power and more like awakening something that had always been part of him. Golden light began to emanate from his body, not in the explosive aura of his Super Saiyan transformations, but in waves of gentle radiance that pulsed with the rhythm of his heartbeat. Across from him, Serenity glowed with silver light that flowed like liquid moonlight around her form. Beautiful, Bulma whispered from her monitoring station, momentarily distracted from her scientific observations by the sheer aesthetic wonder of the display. Now, Serenity said softly, extend your energy outward, but with the specific intent to find the chalice, to seek its resonance across dimensions. Goku focused on this intent, picturing the chalice as they had seen it in the archive records. He shaped his energy not as raw power but as a seeking force, a solar beacon calling to its counterpart. Serenity did the same with her lunar energy, and slowly, they extended their auras. Something went wrong with this response, please try again. Proceed directly to the next chapter. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.